Introduction: The madness of rubbing the glass. Imagine this absurd scene. You get up in the morning, walk toward the bathroom still half asleep, and look at yourself in the mirror. Suddenly you notice that you have a huge and horrible dry mud stain right in the center of your forehead. What is the first thing you do? Do you perhaps grab a thick cloth, put soap on it, and start desperately rubbing the mirror's glass, trying to erase the stain? If you saw a human being doing that, you would think they have completely lost their mind. It is a biological and physical self-evidence that the mirror has no stain. The glass is only passively and obediently reflecting what is on the original object, your own face. If you want that stain to disappear from the mirror, you have to let go of the glass. You have to turn on the water tap, rub your own forehead, and clean yourself. By doing so, and instantaneously, the reflection changes without you having to touch it again. It seems like kindergarten logic, right? And yet I regret to inform you with all the rawness in the world that you have spent absolutely your entire life behaving like that madman in front of the bathroom mirror. You have spent entire decades rubbing the glass of three-dimensional reality until your hands bleed. You have been trying to change the external reflections of your life without daring to touch the only original creative source, your mind. You have problems with your partner, and what do? You argue with them, shout at them, cry to them, take them to therapy, or demand that they change their attitude so that you can feel loved and at peace. You are rubbing the glass. You have a tyrant boss, and you spend hours complaining to your co-workers, planning how to confront them, or wishing they would be fired from the company so that your work environment improves magically. You are still rubbing the glass. You are wasting your valuable vital energy trying to manipulate, convince, seduce, or destroy the people around you, because you blindly believe that they have their own autonomy to decide how to treat you. Welcome to the great illusion of humanity. Welcome to the costliest and most paralyzing lie that your fragile ego has ever believed. The foolish idea that others exist separate from your own consciousness. This book is a steel sledgehammer designed exclusively to shatter that mirror in which you have been deceiving yourself since you were born. You are going to learn and master the law of relentless projection. I am going to reveal to you the darkest, most terrifying and liberating secret of Neville Goddard's metaphysics. No one has free will in your reality. Each and every one of the people in your life is simply you pushed out. They are blind actors, Hollywood extras, reading to the letter the script that your subconscious fears and assumptions wrote for them. If they betray you, you ordered the betrayal vibrationally. If they love you, you assumed that love. It is time to lower the accusing finger. Stop trying to fix the movie by scratching the cinema screen. Turn around, enter the projection room of your mind, change the tape, and sit down to watch how the world obeys. Chapter 1. Everyone is you pushed out, the master law. You are about to cross the line of no return. What you are going to read in this chapter will forever destroy the way you relate to the world. If you have thin skin, if you love playing the victim, or if you desperately need to blame someone else for your pain, close this book now. This is not for you. Everything society has taught you about human relationships is an absolute lie. You have been programmed to believe in the illusion of separation. They taught you that you are a small and isolated individual, that you inhabit a giant world full of billions of independent people. They convinced you that each of those people has their own mind, their own motives, and their own free will to love you, hate you, betray you, or help you. That is the vision of a frightened slave. That is the perspective of the biological primate who believes they are at the mercy of the jungle's predators. Today we are going to tear that illusion out by its roots. We are going to delve into the deepest, most radical and terrifying teaching of the great mystic Neville Goddard. The master law is summarized in a single 6-word phrase that should be tattooed on the forehead of your mind. Everyone is you pushed out. It is not a metaphor. It is not a poetic phrase for you to be more empathetic and treat others well. It is a literal, raw and physical description of how the architecture of your reality works. The illusion of separation. To understand this law, you have to imagine that three-dimensional reality is an extremely advanced virtual reality hologram. You have the glasses of this game on, and within your game, within your quantum timeline, you are the only operating consciousness. You are the only being who has real free will. You are the only source of creative energy. Everything else, absolutely everything, is a projection of your own subconscious mind. The people walking down the street, your boss, your friends, your parents, and the person you sleep with every night are not separate from you. They are extensions of your own being. They are pieces of your consciousness that have been pushed out of your biological body and dressed in flesh and bone. They are out there with a single biological and metaphysical purpose: to act as perfect three-dimensional mirrors to show you who you are internally. The universe is deeply economical. It does not waste energy creating random characters. Every person who enters your field of vision is a messenger. They come to deliver a letter that you wrote to yourself. They come to reflect your deepest assumptions, your most secret fears, and your level of self-esteem. The blind film director. Imagine that you are a Hollywood film director. You write a script where the main character is betrayed by his partner, abandoned by his spouse, and humiliated by society. You hire the best actors in the world. You give them the script, sit in the director's chair, shout "action," and the actors begin to perform their roles perfectly. The actor playing the partner steals from you. The actor playing the spouse abandons you. And suddenly you, the director, jump up from your chair furious, start crying, and begin hitting the actors. You scream at them, "You are monsters. How unfair the world is. Why are you doing this to me?" The actors would look at you confused. They would only say to you, "Sir, we are only reading the lines of dialogue that you yourself wrote and delivered to us this morning." This is how ridiculous you look every day of your life. You are that blind film director. Your subconscious mind is the typewriter that drafts the scripts without rest, 24 hours a day. Your internal assumptions are the text of that script. If you internally believe that people are disloyal, or that they always end up abandoning you, you have just written a tragedy. The quantum field takes that script, looks for the perfect actors in your environment, erases their free will in your reality, and forces them to act. They act the role of traitors to comply with your creative order. The puppet and the ventriloquist. It is a concept that crushes the ego. No one in your life has the autonomy to treat you differently than what you have internally assumed they will treat you. People are not naturally bad or good to you. People are simply obedient to your vibration. They are puppets of flesh, and you are the divine ventriloquist holding the invisible strings. If your boss is an abusive tyrant who does not respect you, it is because in the depths of your consciousness, you harbor the assumption that you are small, that your work is worthless, and that you need to be dominated. That boss, in his own private reality, perhaps is a docile and loving man with his children. But when he enters your hologram, his behavior mutates. He is forced by quantum inertia to play the monster because your victim vibration desperately needs a victimizer to justify its existence. If you have a pathological terror that your partner will be unfaithful, if you check their phone with paranoia, you just gave an order. You gave an execution order to the universe. You have written the script of deception. Your partner, who perhaps was the most loyal person in the world, will begin to feel strange impulses. They will feel an inexplicable distance. And eventually, they will commit infidelity, not because they are evil, but to fulfill your contract. They had to fulfill the vibrational contract that you imposed on them with your chronic fears. You created it. You pushed your insecurity outward, dressed it with your partner's face, and forced them to stab you to prove you right. You are a lethal creator. The ego's bitterest swallow. I know what you are thinking right now. I feel your resistance through the screen. Your ego is writhing like a vampire exposed to sunlight. You are furious. You want to throw this book away. You want to scream at me. It's a lie. I didn't ask to be abused. I was just a child. I was good. They were the cruel ones. Take a deep breath. Silence your ego for a second and listen to the truth with maturity. I am not telling you that you asked for it with your conscious mouth. No human asks for pain on purpose. I am telling you that you ordered it from the dark depths of your subconscious beliefs, inherited or formed in fear. The universe does not listen to your good intentions. It listens to your base frequency. This is the bitterest swallow you will take in all your spiritual evolution, accepting total, non-negotiable, and absolute responsibility for the behavior of others toward you. If you keep believing there are toxic people out there with the power to harm you on their own, You will remain a helpless leaf in the middle of a cosmic hurricane. You will keep running forever. You will leave your toxic partner. You will change cities. You will change jobs. You will think you have saved yourself. But in your new job, after 3 months, you will find an identical boss. In your new city, you will meet a new partner with a different face, but who after 6 months will do exactly the same emotional damage as the previous one. Why? Because you changed actors, but you did not change the script. You changed the mirror, but you did not wash your face. Your subconscious mind keeps printing the same play and forcing the new extras to act it out. As long as you do not assume that the origin of toxicity is not in their flesh, but in the projection of your own mind, you will be condemned to repeat the same hell. The anatomy of reaction and conflict. When you argue with someone, you are starring in the most absurd act of the human comedy. You stand in front of another human body and shout at it, trying to convince it to change its position. You try to manipulate their mind through physical words, tears, guilt, or brute force. You are literally shouting at a mirror because you don't like how you look. Arguing is a criminal waste of quantum energy. When you argue, you validate the illusion of separation. You give power and autonomy to your own shadow. If you understand the law, arguments die of starvation. The adept never raises their voice in the physical world to force a change in the other. The adept understands that if the other person is enraged or stubborn, it is simply because the adept himself has an unresolved internal conflict. The other is the messenger who brings the mail. You don't shoot the mailman. If your business partner starts lying to you, the novice makes a scandal and sues him. The adept locks himself in his office, closes his physical eyes and asks, "What part of my consciousness is assuming this dishonesty?" The adept looks inside for the fear of scarcity or the belief that he doesn't deserve success. He changes that belief in the silence of his mind. He assumes he is surrounded by absolute loyalty and abundance. And by making that millimetric adjustment in the internal projector, the partner in the outside world suddenly apologizes, changes their attitude radically, or simply leaves the business without causing harm. The absolute power of practical solipsism. In philosophy, solipsism is the theory that only one's own mind certainly exists. In the daily life of a slave, this sounds like narcissistic madness, but in the practice of the conscious creator, it is the most perfect tool of domination. It is a practical solipsism. You treat the world as a literal extension of your psyche. This does not mean you lack empathy or become a psychopath who hurts people. Quite the opposite. If you understand that everyone is you, hurting another would be as stupid as stabbing your own left hand with your right. True empathy is born of power, not pity. You love others because you know they are pieces of yourself. They are pieces of yourself experiencing limitation. But you are no longer afraid of them. You are no longer intimidated by the millionaire because you know his wealth is only a manifestation of your own capacity to be rich, pushed outward to show you what is possible. You are no longer intimidated by beauty. Beauty is a quality that resides in your quantum field, and the universe rendered it in that person so you could admire it. You stop competing. Competition demands belief in separation and scarcity. Who are you going to compete with if only you exist in the room? All the money is yours, all the love is yours. When you stop seeing others as competitors or enemies who can steal opportunities from you, the paranoia disappears. Your central nervous system relaxes deeply. You enter an imperial peace, and from that peace, people begin to behave like saints around you. The grumpy bank teller suddenly smiles at you. Your absent partner becomes affectionate. Your clients become generous and easy to deal with. They didn't change. You stopped projecting fear and hostility from your machine. By turning off the projector of terror, the blank screens around you had no choice but to be filled with the light of your new peace. The end of the blame game. Assuming this law means the physical death of victimhood. Never again for the rest of your biological life will you be able to use the phrase, "they hurt me." That phrase is eradicated from your vocabulary. If they hurt you, you hurt yourself using another person's hands. It is hard. The ego bleeds admitting it. But it is the price of admission to absolute freedom. If you assume 100% of the blame for all the pain you have received, you automatically inherit 100% of the creative power to prevent it from happening again and to redesign a future of glory. You cannot have the power without the responsibility. They are two sides of the same cosmic coin. If you give someone the blame for your sadness, you are signing them a blank check with all the power over your happiness. Get your checks back. Get your shares back. You are the majority owner of every social interaction in your universe. There are no coincidences. The beggar who asks you for coins, the driver who insults you in traffic, the idol you admire on television, all of them, without exception, are echoes of your own vibration bouncing against the walls of time and space. Rewriting the script. Today, your relationship with the outside world undergoes a mutation. From now on, when someone bothers you, criticizes you, or rejects you, you are going to stop your emotional reaction in its tracks. You are going to look them in the eyes and see through their mask of flesh. You are going to see the invisible script they carry in their hand. And you are going to smile mentally, realizing that you printed that sheet. You are not going to attack them. You are going to retreat to your mental palace. You will identify what fear or insecurity caused that response in the physical world. You will apply the quantum eraser. You will destroy the old belief and affirm your new sovereignty. You will wash your own face instead of hitting the mirror with clenched fists. This is the master law. It is the fundamental pillar that supports the entire building of conscious creation. Accept that you are alone in the simulator. It is a majestic, cold, and all-powerful solitude. You don't have to convince anyone of anything. You only have to convince yourself that you are deserving, and the whole world will run to serve you the crown. Knowing this in theory is easy. Applying it is the trial by fire. Chapter 2: The Casting of Your Monsters. Why you attract villains and how to fire them. You have swallowed the poison of truth. You have accepted the master law. Everyone is you pushed out. You know that you are the director of this movie, but as you look around, you see a cast of actors that makes you nauseous. You see liars, traitors, tyrant bosses, and partners who drain the life out of you. Your ego, still bleeding from the revelation of the previous chapter, screams in self-defense, "I would never choose these people. I want peace, I want love, I want loyalty. Why would I hire these monsters?" The answer is the most painful lesson in quantum anatomy you will ever receive. You do not hire actors based on your desires. You audition and hire actors based strictly on what you believe you are in the deepest and darkest part of your subconscious mind. The quantum field is not a desire agency, it is an identity agency. It does not give you what you beg for while crying. It gives you exactly what you assume as your absolute truth. The subconscious casting agency. Imagine your subconscious mind as a casting agency in Hollywood. It works 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It never rests. Its only job is to read the script of your beliefs and look for the perfect actors. If your base belief, forged in childhood trauma, says, "I am not enough, they always end up abandoning me," the agency receives that order. The agency receives that as a non-negotiable divine mandate. Immediately, the agency goes out into the three-dimensional world to find the exact person who has the psychological and vibrational capacity to abandon you and make you feel that you are not enough. You can meet 100 wonderful, loyal people willing to love you. But your casting agency will reject them all. It will say, "These actors are no good. They don't fit the script of abandonment that our director wrote." And suddenly, an emotionally unavailable individual, a narcissist, or someone with a fear of commitment walks through the door. Your casting agency shouts, "Eureka, we have the lead." You feel an undeniable chemistry. You feel butterflies in your stomach. You confuse the anxiety of trauma with true love. You fall head over heels for the only person in the room capable of destroying you. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't fate being cruel. It was a perfect logistical execution of your own vibrational order. You hired an emotional hitman to come and prove you right. The Narcissist and the Empath, a marriage in hell. Let's dissect the most famous and toxic dynamic of modern society. The relationship between the savior empath and the abusive narcissist. You've been sold the idea that the empath is a pure and holy victim. They've told you the narcissist is an evil predator who hunts empaths for their light. That is the narrative of the weak. It is the narrative that keeps psychologists collecting for eternal consultations. The hermetic truth is much colder. The empath and the narcissist are two pieces of the same quantum puzzle. They are two sides of the same low-frequency coin. They are attracted by absolute vibrational necessity. The supposed empath has a lethal subconscious belief. I only deserve to be loved if I am useful. I have to save someone broken to justify my existence and my value in this world. That belief is a script that demands a monster. If the empath meets someone healthy, strong, and complete, they get bored. There is nothing to save. Their good person identity is out of a job, so their casting agency goes looking for a narcissist. The narcissist has their own dark script. I am a hollow black hole. I need someone to adore me, to forgive my abuses, and to give me their vital energy for free. Boom, nuclear fusion. The contract is signed on the invisible plane before the first word is spoken in the physical world. The empath finds their salvation project. The narcissist finds their inexhaustible battery. You are not an innocent victim of the narcissist. You are the architect who designed the labyrinth and invited him in to play cat and mouse. You needed him to be able to play your role as a misunderstood martyr. The law of universal confirmation. The universe has only one mission in your life, to prove you right. This is the law of universal confirmation. The quantum field does not argue with you. If you say the sky is green, the universe will put green glasses on you. If you constantly repeat, all men are unfaithful, you are issuing a state decree. The universe bows before you and says, your wish is my command, Majesty. We will proceed to manufacture infidelity. If you meet a loyal man, the inertia of your belief will force him to mutate. The electromagnetic pressure of your constant suspicion, your jealousy, and your assumption of deception will bend his will. In your timeline, he will end up cheating on you. And you, sitting in the ruins of your relationship, will say triumphantly, I knew it. I was right. They are all the same. Congratulations, genius. You used your divine power to ruin your own life. You preferred to be right rather than to be happy. The human ego is so addicted to being right that it is willing to materialize absolute misery rather than admit its original beliefs were wrong. This same law applies to money. If you believe rich people are exploitative and use you, your casting agency will only allow exploitative bosses to hire you. It will filter and block any opportunity for healthy abundance. You attract scammers because deep down you believe it is too good to be true for someone to pay you what you are worth. The scammer is just the actor hired to execute the fraud that you had already conceived in your mind. The comfort of a known hell. You have to ask yourself a brutal and honest question. Why do you refuse to rewrite the script? If you know you are attracting monsters, why don't you fire the cast and change the story today? Because, secretly, you love your monsters. Your personal hell is warm, predictable, and familiar. You know the rules of the pain game. You know exactly how to cry, whom to call to complain, and how to gain pity. Your villains grant you a perverse psychological gift, identity. As long as you are fighting an external monster, you don't have to face the terror of the inner void. You don't have to take responsibility for your greatness. If you fire all the villains in your life today, if suddenly everything is peace, harmony, and success, you will be terrified. You will say, what do I complain about now? What do I talk to my friends about? Who am I if I am no longer anyone's victim? That fear of total responsibility is what makes you recycle toxic actors. You prefer the certainty of misery rather than the uncertainty of absolute glory. The ruthless art of firing actors. But if you are reading this, it is because you are already sick of the blood. You are sick of the actors stealing your script. You are ready to clean the recording set and retake the director's chair with an iron fist. How do you fire a monster from your life? This is where 99% of people go tragically wrong. They try to fire them in the 3D physical world. They scream at them. They block them on WhatsApp. They move cities. Running away in the physical world is useless if the subconscious script remains intact. If you block the narcissist from your phone but still believe you attract toxic people, clones will be hired tomorrow. To fire an actor, you have to cut their supply at the quantum root. You have to rewrite the line of dialogue that keeps them in the play. If you remove their role from the script, the actor disappears by physical inertia. You don't say a single word to them in the physical world. You retreat into the darkness of your mind. You look at the belief that brought him into your life. I believe I need to save others to be loved. You grab the quantum eraser and pulverize it. You write the new directive. I am absolutely and unconditionally loved for the simple and majestic fact that I exist. I don't have to save anyone. I am a king. I only surround myself with loyalty, peace, and excellence. When you integrate this new assumption into your cells, when you feel it as a mathematical certainty in your chest, an earthquake occurs in your three-dimensional hologram. The old vibrational contract is broken into 1,000 pieces. The fired actor's tantrum. Here you must be careful, Captain. When you change the script for an actor who was very comfortable sucking your energy, the actor will not leave your stage in silence. They will throw the biggest tantrum of their life. The universe will test your new assumption through the phenomenon of behavioral extinction. The monster will feel that the invisible supply hose has been cut. They will enter vibrational panic. They will try to provoke you. They will send you hurtful messages. They will try to make you jealous. Or even worse, they will use the most manipulative tactic. They will come crying, promising they have changed. They will beg for another chance to return to the play. This is the trial by fire of your sovereignty. If you react with anger, you are giving them the role back. If you give in to their crying out of pity, you just threw your new script in the trash and signed a 5-year renewal contract. The adept looks at them with the coldness of a marble statue. He feels no pity. He knows they are echoes of a dead past. He does not argue. He does not defend himself. He applies the absolute silence we talked about in the previous chapter. He keeps the door closed, and before that monstrous imperturbability, the old energy collapses. The toxic actor, seeing there is no longer a role for him in your movie, turns around and vanishes from your reality. It happens in 2 ways. Either the person physically disappears from your life, quits the job, moves, stops calling, or they undergo a miraculous mutation and start treating you with absolute respect. Auditioning for greatness. Once you have cleaned the set and fired the villains, you have an empty stage. It is the fertile void. Now you have to audition the new characters, but this time you will do it from the awakened and tyrannical consciousness of the sovereign. You don't go looking for friends or partners on Tinder. You don't force 3D situations. You sit on your mental throne and define your new self-concept. The self-concept is the detailed description of your new identity. Decree. I am a person treated with reverence. My time is gold. The people who approach me are brilliant, loyal millionaires in health and spirit. I only experience relationships that lift my empire to the stratosphere. Feel that sacred arrogance. Feel what it's like to be the most important person in the room without having to open your mouth to prove it. Inject that electromagnetic emotion into your heart until you walk as if floating. When you hold this titanium self-concept, the subconscious casting agency goes into a frenzy. It deploys its networks in the quantum field. It begins to look for actors who fit this script of epic proportions. Suddenly, incredible people begin to cross your path. High-level mentors offer help without being asked. Your new partner appears out of nowhere and treats you with a devotion and respect that you previously thought only existed in the movies. These are not miracles. It is pure and hard law of resonance. You emitted a frequency of a king, and the universe could only let those pass through the castle gate who came to pay tribute. The cemetery of excuses. Justifications are over. You can no longer say, "It's just that my town is very small and everyone here is toxic," or "It's just that in my industry all partners are scammers." Those are lies of a slave who doesn't want to change their vibration. You are the entire universe compressed into a focal point. If your town is small and you assume greatness, the universe will force the right person to take a plane from the other side of the world just to stumble upon you in your street. Space and time bend like cheap paper before an unbreakable assumption. Distances do not exist when the casting order has been approved. Look at your hands. You have villains' blood on them. You have destroyed the narrative of suffering. You have killed your old victim character, and you are realizing the terrifying immensity of your own authority. But there is one more obstacle. There is a final mental defense that prevents you from using this law 100%. You've been brainwashed with the concept of human freedom. They've told you that you cannot force the will of others. You believe that altering someone's behavior from your mind is witchcraft, manipulation, or a violation of their free will. You feel guilty for wanting your partner or boss to change. That guilt is the thickest chain around your neck. It is time to break it with the most controversial and polarizing truth you will ever hear. It is the concept that separates students from the true masters of the universe. In Chapter 3, The End of Others' Free Will in Your Reality, we will gut cheap morality. I will prove to you with surgical precision that free will as they taught it to you is an illusion to keep the masses docile. You will learn why you are the only being with freedom of choice in your hologram, and why dictating others' scripts is the exact mathematical function for which you were designed. Chapter 3. The End of Others' Free Will in Your Reality. The death of cheap morality and the birth of the only operant. You are about to cross the most dangerous, heretical, and polarizing border in all of human philosophy. What you are about to read next is going to make your moral and religious education scream in terror. Since the cradle, you have been taught that the supreme value of humanity is free will. You have been told that each person has the absolute right and power to choose how to act, how to think, and how to treat you. They convinced you that trying to change another person's will from your mind is an act of dark manipulation. They told you it is witchcraft, that it is a sin, or that it is a violation of the ethics of the universe. Today I'm going to take that cheap morality, that slave ethics, and I'm going to tear it to pieces before your eyes. Because that belief is the thickest steel chain keeping your neck tied to the floor of the matrix. Listen to me with the coldness of a surgeon. In your timeline, in your 3D hologram, the free will of others does not exist. It is an absolute and perfect optical illusion, designed to give realism to the game. In your universe, you are the only operant consciousness. You are the only real player. Everyone else is a holographic extension of your own assumptions, forced by quantum physics to obey your vibration. The tyrant's dilemma and the slave's guilt. When you hear this for the first time, your ego writhes with guilt. You think, are you telling me I can force my ex-partner to come crawling back? Can I force my boss to give me a raise? Doesn't that make me an evil tyrant? That guilt is proof that you are still thinking like a three-dimensional beggar. You still believe there are others separate from you. You still believe you are forcing a poor innocent person to do something against their will. Wake up once and for all. You are not manipulating anyone. Manipulating is what you did before in the physical world. Crying for pity, shouting in an argument, or emotional blackmail. What you do in the quantum field is not manipulation. It is reality selection. You have to understand the principle of parallel realities so that guilt disappears from your central nervous system forever. The closet of infinite versions. Quantum physics suggests that all possibilities exist simultaneously. This means there is no single version of your partner, your boss, or your mother. There are infinite versions of every human being existing at the same time. There is a version of your partner who is a narcissistic traitor. There is another version of that same person who is the most loyal, devoted, and loving being in the galaxy. There is a version of your boss who fires you, and another who makes you a partner in the company. All those versions are hanging in the infinite closet of the quantum field, like suits of clothes. Who decides which suit the person is going to wear when they walk through the door of your house or your office? You decide. You decide with the electromagnetic frequency you emit from your I am. Your internal assumption is the magnet that drags a specific version of that person toward your 3D timeline. When you use the law of assumption to change someone, you are not kidnapping their mind and forcing the bad version to be good. That would be violating free will. But reality works in a much more elegant way. You simply turn your attention away from the bad version, the toxic suit, and tune into the frequency of the good version. By changing your internal dial, the toxic version collapses, and the loving version materializes in front of you. The person in front of you will feel that they are making the decision to treat you like a king on their own account. They will feel a natural impulse to love you or pay you more money. They will not feel any coercion. They will think it was their brilliant idea. But you, from the director's chair, will know the secret. You will know that you hacked the timeline. You will know that person is under the inescapable compulsion of the new assumption you planted in the dark room of your mind. The illusion of the multiplayer game. For your intellect to digest this cosmic brutality, Use the analogy of video games. You believe that life is an immense multiplayer game where millions of humans are connected to the same server, competing and making free decisions. False. Your life is a single-player game. You are the only one holding the controller. The people around you are what in video games are called NPCs, non-player characters. NPCs have incredibly complex programming code. They seem alive. They seem to have emotions, tragic stories, and their own motivations, but their responses are programmed 100% to react to the buttons you press. If you press the fear of abandonment button in your mind, the game code forces the NPC of your partner to pack their bags and leave you. The NPC does not have the freedom to say, "Hey, the player is afraid, I better stay and comfort them." The NPC has to execute the code you injected into the server. The quantum field is blind, deaf, and mathematically flawless. It does not allow any three-dimensional actor to improvise outside the script of your subconscious assumptions. Assuming this requires a level of psychopathic maturity that the average citizen will never reach. The average citizen desperately needs to believe that the other person is guilty so they can cry on their friend's shoulders. The sovereign creator swallows their tears. The sovereign creator looks at the NPC who is insulting them and says, "How fascinating. I just discovered a virus of hate in my own source code." The end of traditional forgiveness. Understanding that the other's free will is an illusion completely changes the concept of forgiveness. In Chapter 9, I spoke to you about the new contract and of forgiving as an act of selfishness. Now we are going to take it to the final level of metaphysics. At the highest level of consciousness, traditional forgiveness does not even exist. Why? Because traditional forgiveness implies that someone with free will decided to hurt you and you, from your supposed moral superiority, absolve them. But if you know that person had no free will in your reality, if you know they were acting under the forced hypnosis of your own repressed fears, whom are you going to forgive? You cannot forgive a mirror for showing you that your hair is messy. It is the stupidest act in the world. The mirror only did its job flawlessly. The villain who destroyed your life only did their job perfectly. The only person you have to forgive is yourself. You have to forgive yourself for having operated the divine machinery. You have to forgive yourself for having operated with such ignorance. You have to forgive yourself for having written horror scripts and having forced others to interpret them. When you reach this titanium understanding, resentment evaporates instantly. You become unoffendable. Nobody can insult you if you know their mouth is only a loudspeaker repeating aloud the poisonous whispers of your own doubts. The terrifying responsibility of the crown. Here is where the ego breaks. This is where many return the book and flee in terror back to religion or traditional psychology. Because if the other person has no free will, you no longer have excuses. If the other is a puppet of your assumption, then you are the only one responsible for the poverty, abuse, betrayal, and loneliness. You are completely, terrifyingly, and suffocatingly alone on the throne of your universe. It is a crushing weight. It means you cannot blame politicians for your country's crisis because they are extras in your hologram responding to your belief in global scarcity. It means you cannot blame your ex for having ruined you. This is the true dark night of the soul. The moment in which you realize that the monster of the labyrinth, the devil, the villain, and the traitor was always you. You pushed out, using masks of flesh to scare yourself. But once the initial vertigo passes, once you manage to breathe under this weight, the miracle occurs. Infinite power is unleashed in your veins. If you created illness, poverty, and betrayal by writing a blind script, then you have the absolute, undeniable, and physical power to create radiant health, obscene wealth, and the most epic love in history. You just have to change the damn script. You just have to give a new order. The mechanics of third-party reprogramming. How is this done in practice? How do you change the behavior of someone who has been treating you poorly or ignoring you for years? You have to apply the quantum double technique and tactical isolation. Suppose your boss is an egomaniac who blocks your promotions. In the 3D world, you hate him. You go to work on the defensive. When you see him, your body tenses. You expect the attack, and of course he attacks, fulfilling your expectation. Step 1. Stop the 3D reaction. Starting tomorrow, when your boss speaks poorly to you, you become a wall of ice. You do not defend yourself, you do not cry, you do not argue. You look at him knowing he is a hologram executing an old code. Step 2. The relentless mental diet. Every time you think of your boss outside of work, your mind will want to remember his insults or imagine future arguments. Cut that movie immediately. Shout cancelled. Step 3. Install the new version. In the solitude of your mind, you are going to evoke the image of your boss, but not the tyrant. You are going to invoke the parallel version that admires you deeply, the version that considers you indispensable to the company. You are going to hear his voice in your imagination. You will hear him saying, "You are the best talent we have. I have approved the raise you deserve." You are going to feel the handshake. You will repeat this imaginary conversation dozens of times a day. You are going to brainwash yourself. You will saturate your mind with the assumption that your boss is your ally. What will happen in the 3D world? At first, the friction will be tremendous. The 3D boss, the fossil, will keep barking for a few days, doing the extinction burst we already talked about. You will ignore his barks with Olympian contempt. But if you keep your internal assumption without wavering, quantum thermodynamics will do the rest. The tension between your vibration of respect and the physical reality of mistreatment will break. From one day to the next, this man's behavior will undergo a mutation that will defy psychiatry. He will stop shouting. He will start asking for your opinion. And finally, he will offer you the position. He will firmly believe it was his idea. You will have hacked his mind without uttering a single word in the physical world. You will have used the operant power of your consciousness to select the timeline where that person is a vehicle for your success, not for your failure. The danger of obsession and the specific person. At this point, most students make the most pathetic and painful mistake in metaphysics. They discover they can alter the will of others, and their ego becomes obsessed with one particular person, the famous specific person. They want to use this divine power solely to force an ex-partner to return and propose. They use the everyone is you pushed out technique, not from the sovereignty of a king, but from the suffocating desperation of an abandoned beggar. They spend 15 hours a day visualizing their ex, asking for forgiveness. Listen to me carefully, because this will save you years of suffering. You can manifest a specific person. Of course you can. The law is infallible. If you assume they are with you and do not doubt, the quantum field will drag them back. But here is the deadly trap. If you manifest your ex from your need, from your void, and from your fear of loneliness, you are using the law with the engine turned off. You are using inverted faith. The universe will return the person to you, yes, but it will return the exact version that matches your internal lack. They will come back for a month, use you, give you false hopes, and break your heart again with double the cruelty. The quantum field will say, "You ordered me to bring you this individual. But since your internal vibration is still that of an insecure slave, I had to force this individual to treat you like an insecure slave." Order delivered. The sovereignty of internal focus. The sovereign creator never uses the law to force a specific person from a place of need. The sovereign does not chase people. The sovereign chases states of consciousness. Instead of obsessing that Mary or John loves you, you assume the state of being deeply, crazily, and unconditionally loved. You put on the crown of self-love. You become addicted to your own magnetic fullness. You tell yourself, "I am the absolute prize. I am the center of gravity of love. Whoever enters my hologram has the sacred privilege of treating me like the divinity I am." You feel that holy arrogance. And from that state of total saturation, where you don't need anyone to be happy, quantum magic is unleashed in its purest and most violent form. Friction disappears. What happens then? Either Mary or John undergo a radical change in their mind, seek you out and treat you with a devotion you never saw before. Or else the universe expels that person from your life definitively. And in their place, the quantum field materializes a new person, 100 times better, more compatible and brighter, who enters your life to adore you without you having to force a single visualization technique. If the original person does not return, the adept does not cry. The adept knows that person simply did not have the vibrational capacity to exist in the stratosphere of their new reality. They were eliminated by quantum incompetence. You are the director of the movie. You fire them and hire a Hollywood star, silent success and cold compassion. When you master the end of others' free will, your relationship with humanity changes forever. You no longer argue. You no longer try to convince the sleeping to wake up. You walk among them like a master disguised as a civilian. You observe your friends' tragedies, their complaints about the government, their partner problems, and instead of giving them useless advice in the 3D world, which will only feed their victim egos, you apply the greatest act of love possible. You heal them in the silence of your mind. You use your power to imagine that your friend finally got that job. You hear them in your imagination giving you the great news. You feel joy for them. You assume their success as an accomplished fact in your own timeline, and then you let go of the image and say absolutely nothing to them. A few days later, your friend calls you crying with joy because they were hired. They will think it was their resume, they will think it was luck. You will smile in silence, drink your coffee, and know it was you from the engine room of your consciousness who collapsed that probability for them. That is the true, cold compassion of the Creator. It is not crying with the sick to validate their illness. It is holding the unwavering vision of their perfect health. The power is absolute. The responsibility is total. There is no one else in the room. All the three-dimensional theater has been set up exclusively for you to learn to govern your own subconscious assumptions. You have killed the illusion of others. You have shattered the excuse of someone else's free will. But with this level of consciousness, a very dangerous poison arises disguised as virtue. A poison that society, religion, and cheap personal development have made you drink by the gallon. It is called tolerance. They have taught you that being a good person means putting up with the mediocrity of others. Chapter 4. The Poison of Tolerance and the Savior Complex. The ruthless art of stop being the world's emotional trash can. You have swallowed the hardest pill to take. You have understood that in your universe there are no others with free will to harm you. You know that you write the invisible script. But having this knowledge puts you at a lethal crossroads. Now that you know the villains of your life are simply projections, your ego will set a trap. Your ego, disguised as false spirituality, will tell you, if I created them, then I have to endure them. I have to love them until they heal. I have to be tolerant and patient because deep down they are a reflection of me. That is the most poisonous, destructive, and arrogant lie that human morality has ever invented. It is the poison of tolerance and the hypocrisy of the savior complex. Society has brainwashed you with religious and romantic concepts about patience. They have told you that enduring abuse from a partner or the toxicity of a family member makes you a good person. They convinced you that turning the other cheek makes you a saint. They have taught you that unconditional love means accepting unacceptable conditions. Today we are going to gut that lie. We are going to rip that martyr's medal off your chest and throw it in the trash. Because in the world of quantum mechanics, tolerance of abuse is not a virtue, it is suicide. The anatomy of toxic tolerance. Understand this with the coldness of a physicist. The quantum field has no morals. It does not know what is good or bad. The universe only understands one language, the language of frequency and acceptance. When you tolerate the contempt of a boss or the lies of a friend, you are not demonstrating love. You are emitting an electromagnetic signature of acceptance. You are telling the processor of the universe, this frequency of mistreatment is acceptable in my hologram. I feel comfortable inhabiting this vibration of disrespect. Please, render more of this. Tolerance does not purify the other. It contaminates you. Every time you decide to put up with a lack of respect in the name of peace, you are lowering your own voltage to match the other person's misery. The universe observes your behavior. It sees that you claim to be a king in the morning, but in the afternoon you allow a peasant to spit in your face without consequences. The universe will always believe your actions, not your words. Tolerating the intolerable is the physical manifestation of your own internal hatred. It is your subconscious screaming that you do not believe you are worthy of the royalty you claim in your meditations. If you truly had the mathematical certainty that you are the supreme authority of your reality, the simple idea of tolerating mediocrity in your personal space would give you physical disgust. You would not endure it for even a millisecond. The myth of unconditional love. You have been sold a rotten concept of unconditional love. They have told you that truly loving means staying by someone's side regardless of how much harm they do to you or how much they steal your peace. That is not unconditional love. That is parasitic dependency. It is cowardice disguised as loyalty. It is pathological terror of being left alone, dressed in a suit of false altruism. True unconditional love is a concept that only applies to the eternal I am. You love the divine spark that dwells in everyone, yes. You recognize that in essence, everyone is God experiencing limitation. But recognizing someone's divinity on the invisible plane does not force you to tolerate their destructive behavior on the physical 3D plane. You can deeply love someone's soul while closing your front door in their face. The sovereign loves unconditionally, but relates conditionally. Access to your space, your time, your body, and your vital energy is the most expensive privilege in the universe. It must be paid for with high-frequency currency. If someone does not have the currency of respect, loyalty, and excellence, they simply do not enter your force field. You do not hate them. You deny them access. The savior complex, the arrogance of the ego. And this is where the second part of this mental illness comes in, the savior complex. It is the chronic addiction to looking for birds with broken wings to try to heal them. Why do you constantly attract people who are financially broken, emotionally shattered, or with destructive addictions? Because your ego desperately needs to feel superior and useful. The savior complex is the most twisted form of narcissism. You believe you are the only one capable of fixing that person's life. You believe your love is the magic medicine that is going to rescue them from their own hell. That is brutal arrogance. You are interfering in the karmic and quantum contract of another consciousness. You are trying to steal the lesson that their own I am put in front of them so they could evolve. When you try to save someone who hasn't asked to be saved, you are not helping them. You are castrating them emotionally. You are turning them into an invalid who depends on your energy to survive. And in the process, you become a human battery. They plug their cables into your chest and start sucking out your joy, your money, your focus, and your vitality. They vampire you with your own permission. And do you know what is most tragic? Deep down, you are not saving them out of love for them. You are saving them out of fear of yourself. You use them as a perfect distraction. As long as you spend your days focused on solving the dramas of toxic friends, you have the perfect excuse not to look at your own abyss. You don't have to work on your own empire. The drama of others is the perfect sedative for your mediocrity. It allows you to say, I haven't succeeded in my business because I'm too busy helping my family. It is a brilliant lie designed by your cowardly ego. The mirror of the broken. Remember the master law of the previous chapter. Everyone is you pushed out. If your hologram is full of broken people who need to be saved, what is the mirror telling you? It is screaming in your face that you are broken, that you feel unworthy of receiving healthy and abundant love. You believe you have to buy the affection of others by paying the price of being their free therapist. The toxic person you try to save is simply the projection of your own scared inner child, desperately seeking validation. You are trying to heal outside what you refuse to heal inside. And the Matrix is relentless with this lesson. What always happens when you try to save a wounded bird? You heal its wing, you give it all your warmth, you invest months of your life in it, and as soon as it can fly, it leaves and defecates in your hand. Or worse, it turns around and attacks you with the same beak. They betray you, abandon you, or accuse you of being the culprit of all their ills. It is the classic and inescapable pattern of the savior. And you cry and scream, "How unfair, after everything I did for them." There is no injustice. It is pure quantum physics. The universe is punishing you for abandoning your throne. It is punishing you for crawling in the mud. It is punishing you for trying to violate the law of correspondence. You tried to force a manifestation in the 3D through physical manipulation and sacrifice instead of changing the assumption in your mind. The art of tactical disconnection. What is the cure for this disease of the soul? The cure is called tactical disconnection. It is the development of a sacred and cold intolerance toward anything that threatens the integrity of your electromagnetic field. Tactical disconnection is not an emotional tantrum. It is not blocking someone on WhatsApp. The true disconnection happens first in the invisible world. It is withdrawing your attention, your energy, and your focus from the toxic person or situation with the same coldness with which you unplug a defective appliance. If you have a friend who only calls to complain, the slave listens for hours out of politeness. The sovereign cuts them off after 5 minutes. The sovereign says, "I love you, but I am not an emotional trash can. If you want to talk about solutions or greatness, my door is open. If you are going to vomit your miseries, do it elsewhere," and hangs up the phone. That intolerance to low frequency is what shields your reality. By refusing to listen to their complaint, you are protecting your own assumption of wealth and peace. You are defending your empire from an invasion of mental viruses. Guilt, the parasite's last weapon. When you start applying these steel boundaries, prepare for dirty war. The energy vampires in your life will panic. They will feel that the battery they were connected to suddenly turned off, and they will use their most lethal weapon against you: guilt. They will call you selfish. They will tell you that you have changed, that you have become arrogant, that you no longer have empathy. They will use the memory of everything we lived through together to chain you. They will try to make you feel like a monster for putting yourself first. Guilt is the corrosive acid the system uses. It is used to dissolve the sovereignty of awakened individuals. You have to immunize yourself against guilt today. You have to understand that selfishness is not a sin. It is the biological and spiritual basis of creative survival. You have to fill yourself up first in order to give anything of value. An empty glass cannot quench anyone's thirst. If you let yourself be drained by parasites, both of you will die of thirst in the desert. Your act of extreme selfishness is, paradoxically, the greatest favor you can do for the world. By shining brightly, you become a lighthouse. You prove it is possible to get out. The sacred abandonment. There is a higher level of this disconnection, reserved only for adepts. It is sacred abandonment. It is the moment when you realize that the only way to truly love a toxic person is by abandoning them completely. Remember that in your hologram, they are acting out the script of your fears. As long as you stay in their presence, interacting from your old frequency, you are quantumly forcing them to remain the villains. You have them kidnapped in a miserable role. Your mere presence, charged with the history of shared trauma, perpetuates the dynamic. You are the director forcing the abuse scene. When you walk away for good, when you close the physical and quantum door, you free that actor. By withdrawing from their hologram, you free them from the compulsion of having to hurt you. You return their peace to them in another timeline. Abandoning a destructive person is not an act of cruelty, it is high mercy. You break the karmic loop. You save yourself and free your shadow from having to keep chasing you down the hallway. The end of the family drama. This principle applies with crushing force to the most sacred structure of slave society, the family. They have taught you that blood forces you to endure psychological abuse and toxicity until the day you die. They tell you that family comes first and that you have to honor parents or siblings even if they destroy you. That is the silliest lie designed to keep generational trauma alive and well. Physical blood is an accident of biology. It is not a contract of cosmic slavery. If your family members operate on a frequency of envy, manipulation, and constant scarcity, they are a lethal danger to your quantum architecture. You do not owe your sanity to anyone for having shared the same womb or name. If your family home is on fire with the madness of victimhood, your spiritual obligation is not to stay and burn with them to show loyalty. Your obligation is to run out of the house, save your life, and build an impregnable empire. If one day they decide to put out their own fire, perhaps you can send them a glass of water, but you don't stay to breathe the smoke. The sovereign creator feels no guilt for moving away from toxic parents or parasitic siblings. He knows distancing is the only way to cut the genetic transmission of mental poverty. The peace of the empty room. When you execute this relentless purge, when you fire the villains, when you refuse to save those who don't want to be saved, something terrifying happens at first. Your cinema hall empties out completely. You look around and find yourself in a deafening silence. There are no more drama messages on your phone. The chaos has disappeared. The silence of the empty room scares the beginner. He feels he has become isolated from the world. He feels he has been too drastic and will die alone. The ego whispers that he made a mistake. Do not dare to step back at this point. That silence is not loneliness, it is rendering space. The quantum processor just deleted gigabytes of trash from your hard drive and now has the RAM free to download the miracle. You have to learn to sit in that empty room and enjoy the absence of noise. You have to fall in love with the unshakable peace of having no one sucking your vital energy. As you maintain this relentless peace, as you refuse to lower your standards, the door of the cinema hall will open again. But this time, the actors who enter will not have broken wings or hidden knives. People who vibrate at your same frequency of steel will enter. Kings and queens who come to build empires. The final test, the return of the fossil. But the Matrix will not let you enjoy this new cast without first giving you one last trial by fire. The system needs to verify if your new intolerance to toxicity is real or just a temporary disguise. To test you, the universe will use the dirtiest tactic, the return of the fossil. Weeks or months after having purged your life, the most toxic person you had eliminated will contact you out of nowhere. A casual message, an accidental call, an emergency where only you can help. They will throw a shiny hook covered with the poison of nostalgia and old guilt at you. In that millisecond when you see their name on the screen, your old neural network will light up, your heart will race, you will feel the wild impulse to respond, to see what they want, to try to save them one last time. If you answer, if you open a slit in your armored door, the ghost will enter and destroy your house. You will lose months of quantum work in a single 5-minute conversation. The Matrix will laugh at your weakness. The only response worthy of a sovereign to the return of the fossil is absolute blocking, physical and mental. There is no closure. There is no last talk. Silence is the only clarification a king grants. You delete the message, block the contact, and in your mind you repeat, "This timeline is closed. That ghost has no jurisdiction in my kingdom of light." And you keep walking without turning your head to look at the explosion behind you. Reclaiming your dispersed energy. You have closed the leaks. You have ripped the leeches off your skin. You have stopped playing the universe's free therapist. Now, all that brutal, thick, and hot energy you spent on tolerating idiots returns to your center of gravity. You feel a surge of physical power in your body. You feel you can move mountains. Your imagination becomes sharp as a laser because it is no longer clouded by the mist of others' drama. You are ready to materialize, but the war does not end by cutting external ties. You still have to deal with the inevitable interactions of daily life. You still have to talk to bosses, clients, and family. And in those interactions, friction will arise. Arguments will try to catch you in the web of 3D logic. The ego of the other will try to crash against yours to steal your newly won peace. I have taught you not to argue in the physical world, not to rub the mirror glass. But how do you resolve the conflict? Chapter 5. The Echo of Your Words. Hacking arguments and the sonic magic of your mind. You have cleaned your environment. You have raised titanium shields against energy vampires. You are learning not to react to the provocations of the three-dimensional world, but you do not live in a cave in the Himalayas. You are a creator operating in the 21st century. You interact with humans every single day. You have corporate meetings, contract negotiations, arguments with your partner, friction with neighbors. Conflict of interest is a constant in the world of matter. The big question is, if you can no longer shout, if you can no longer manipulate in the physical world, how on earth do you win an argument? How do you get your boss to prove you right? How do you get a stubborn client to accept your terms? How do you make your partner understand your point of view without starting a world war in your living room? The 3D slave believes war is won by moving vocal cords. He believes the loudest or most logical person wins. That is the tactic of primates. It is the most inefficient and stupid tactic in the universe. The physical words that come out of your mouth have absolutely no creative power if they are not backed by the mind. Your vocal cords only stir the air. Physical sound is slow and clumsy. You are scratching the cinema screen. The sovereign creator never fights his battles in the physical world. The adept knows that when two people are shouting face to face, the battle was lost a long time ago. The adept fights and wins the war in the only battlefield where victory is absolute and irreversible, the dark room of his own imagination. The lie of your physical conversations. To master this secret technique, you first have to accept a crushing metaphysical truth. No conversation you have in the physical world is original. None. Every time you open your mouth to speak to someone in the street, the office, or your bed, you are simply playing back a recording. You are repeating an echo. Every conversation in the 3D world is the delayed echo of an intimate conversation you already had with that person in the silence of your own mind, days, weeks, or months ago. Your constant internal dialogue is the universe's newsroom. That is where the scripts are written that others are forced to recite to you. Neville Goddard was categorical about this. He taught that our internal conversations are the true causes of the circumstances of our life. What you tell yourself in secret, the world shouts at you in public. The shower syndrome and the phantom fight. Let's gut your daily toxic behavior. Think about it honestly. You have a clash with a co-worker, they say something passive-aggressive. In the moment, you stay silent, you get home, you get into the shower, and as the water falls, your wounded ego takes control. You start to recreate the argument in your head, but this time, you are the relentless hero. You invent the perfect responses. You imagine exactly what your co-worker would say, and you launch a logical argument so crushing that you leave them humiliated and speechless. You win the argument in the shower. You feel the adrenaline flowing, you feel the fury. Do you know what you just did, genius? You just committed quantum suicide. You used the engine of your electromagnetic emotion and the wheel of your focus to issue a war order to the universe. You just told the quantum field, I enjoyed this mental fight so much, I need to use these brilliant arguments in the real world. I order you to have this co-worker attack me again tomorrow so I can humiliate them. And the universe, which is a blind servant, obeys. The next day you arrive at the office, and your co-worker, moved by the inertia of your assumption, attacks you again. They say exactly what you imagined. The argument breaks out in the 3D world, and you, from your victim ignorance, say, I knew it, I knew this wretch was going to attack me today. My intuition never fails. It wasn't intuition, it was pure manifestation. You wrote their dialogue in the shower. You rehearsed the play. He is just the actor, just the telepathic radio and the collective unconscious. You have to stop thinking that your skull is a hermetic safe. Your thoughts do not stay trapped inside your head. Your thoughts are high-frequency radio waves emitted to the ether. Analytical psychology, led by Carl Jung, spoke to us about the collective unconscious. All minds are connected to a cosmic Wi-Fi. When you hold an internal conversation with someone, you are not just talking to yourself. You are literally invading that person's subconscious through this invisible network. The other's subconscious receives your message. If your message is of hostility and war, their body prepares to attack you. They won't know why they dislike you. They won't know why they feel a sudden impulse to contradict you in the meeting. They will simply feel a natural aversion toward you. You programmed that aversion. Conversely, if your internal conversation is full of respect and peace, their defenses drop. The master technique, rewriting the sonic code. Here is the operations manual to hack any argument and win any negotiation without lifting a finger. The technique is called selective auditory rewriting. You have to learn to use your inner ear with the same precision a sniper uses a telescopic sight. Imagine you're about to enter a meeting with a client you know is stubborn and always asks for absurd discounts. The novice enters the meeting praying for luck or sharpening his attack arguments. The sovereign does the work before touching the doorknob. You stop in the hallway 1 minute before entering. You close your physical eyes. You disconnect the three-dimensional world for 60 seconds. You invoke that client's face in your mind. But the vital thing is to hear them. You have to evoke the exact tone of their voice. You have to hear their timbre, their accent, and their breathing in your head. Once you have tuned into the radio of their voice, you are going to force them to say exactly what you want to hear in the real world. You put the words in their mouth with divine tyranny. You hear their voice saying, "Your proposal is absolutely brilliant. I accept all your terms. It is an honor." You don't say it. He says it in your mind. You have to hear it so real that a chill of relief runs down your spine. You feel the tension leaving your body. You feel the joy of the closed sale. You repeat that single auditory phrase 5 times in the hallway, until you feel the bored peace of one who has the money. The collapse of the enemy in the 3D world. You open your eyes, you enter the meeting. You sit down, and what do? Absolutely nothing defensive. You don't attack. You don't justify yourself. You present your offer with the icy and relaxed calm of a king. You look the client in the eye, knowing the negotiation was already closed 2 minutes ago. You look at him with compassion, knowing he has no quantum escape. The client will open his mouth, ready to fight the price by inertia of his old ego. But suddenly something will short-circuit in his mind. He will feel the resistance vanish. He will feel your terms are surprisingly fair. The audio file you telepathically injected in the hallway will take control of his neurology. The words you forced him to say in your imagination will begin to form on his physical vocal cords. And to everyone's amazement, the most difficult client will smile and say, "This looks excellent, where do I sign?" This is not a sales trick. It is reality architecture. If you understand that the other has no free will, you know their physical voice is just the loudspeaker for your own internal assumption. You are the scriptwriter of their dialogue. Hacking the romantic terrain. This same weapon applies to couple relationships and family conflicts. In fact, it is in this terrain where miracles are most violent and fast, because the emotional charge is higher. Suppose your partner has been ignoring you. You are in the middle of a silence crisis. You haven't spoken well for days. The wounded ego demands that you complain, that you send a long and dramatic message demanding attention. If you send that 3D message, you lose. You are begging to the mirror. You are confirming from lack that you are being ignored. The universe will read your despair and make your partner ignore you harder. Apply the hack. Sit on your bed. Close your eyes. Ignore the empty phone. Invoke your partner's voice in your mind. Hear their sweetest, most vulnerable and repentant tone. Make them say, "My love, forgive me for moving away. I was an idiot. I love you deeply. I can't be without you." Hear that apology 10 times. Feel the knot in your throat hearing those words of love. Feel the warmth in your chest. Forgive them in your imagination. Embrace their quantum avatar. Feel that the war is over. Bathe in the relief of reconciliation for 5 minutes. Then go to sleep or go make dinner. Go make. What is going to happen? The quantum network will send the telepathic missile straight to your partner's amygdala. Wherever they are, whether 3 meters away or 1,000 kilometers away, they will feel the impact. They will feel a sudden pang of guilt. The pride that kept them silent will melt. They will grab their phone, and their fingers will move on their own over the keyboard to write exactly what you assumed. The message that arrives on your screen will be an almost exact reflection, word for word, of the audio you programmed in your bedroom. You will be frozen seeing your monstrous power. The mental dialogue diet. But such great power comes with a lethal warning. If you can heal relationships with your internal conversations, you can also cause personal apocalypses if you don't watch your mental mouth. Most people have a garbage dump in their head. They have imaginary dialogues of pure tragedy. They imagine their boss firing them. They imagine the doctor giving them a terminal diagnosis. They imagine the bank foreclosing. And the universe, which does not understand sarcasm or hypothetical fears, takes each of those toxic conversations as work orders signed by your I am. You have to declare martial law in your head. From this precise second, never, under any circumstances, are you allowed to have an internal conversation of conflict, defeat, or humiliation. You are a sovereign creator. Sovereigns do not stoop to arguing with peasants in their minds. If you catch your mind starting to complain about someone, fighting or justifying itself, you crush it without mercy. You shout, "Cancelled." You don't give yourself the luxury of a single war thought. Every conversation in your soul must be noble, elevated, victorious, and full of peace. The art of non-resistance. The true hack of an argument is not fighting better. It is refusing to fight entirely. If someone attacks you in the 3D world and you offer no resistance, the attack collapses. If someone pushes you and you are a stone wall, the energy clashes. But if you are absolute vacuum, the person falls. When someone comes to shout at you, listen like someone listening to rain. Do not let their physical words enter your inner chamber. Look at them and in your mind repeat, "How curious that you are saying this, when I know that in reality you admire me." Treat them like an actor who forgot their lines. This imperturbability makes you untouchable. It destroys the ego of aggressors. Energy vampires feed on your emotional reaction. By giving them silence, they starve in front of you. The work of continuous pruning. Mastering the echo of your words is your life's work. Neville Goddard called it mental pruning. Imagine your mind as an infinitely fertile rose garden. Your positive internal conversations are the seeds of gold roses. Your mental complaints and imaginary fights are the seeds of weeds. The sleeping gardener lets any seed fall, and then he complains that his life is a forest of thorns. The awakened gardener has sharp scissors in his hand all day. At the first sign of a failure conversation, he cuts the branch at the root. He decapitates it. He plants glory immediately. This constant vigilance will exhaust you at first. It is like learning to walk again. You are used to letting your mind run wild through the mud of victimhood. Forcing it to walk on clean marble requires brute force, but within weeks it will become automatic. Your frequency will be too high for poverty. You have discovered how to put out the fire of conflict. You know how to enter the enemy's mind and turn them into your most loyal soldier. But the mirror of reality not only reflects your fears, it also reflects your repressed desires and your light projected onto others. If the villain is a part of you, who do you think is the idol you admire? Who do you think is that guru you worship, or that beautiful person you think is out of reach? They are also you pushed out. They are your own divinity, rendered in other bodies because you were too cowardly to assume that light. Chapter 6. The Reverse Mirror. Reclaiming your light and the looting of Olympus. You have survived the monster hunt. You already accepted the most bitter pill in the universe. You created the villains of your life. You assumed responsibility for your own projected darkness. But the mirror of reality reflects more than just childhood traumas and your deepest fears. The mirror is a perfect and bidirectional machine. The mirror reflects absolutely everything that is in your consciousness. If the killers, traitors, and tyrants are you pushed out, who do you think that millionaire you admire so much is? Who is that charismatic leader you follow on social media? Who is that incredibly beautiful person you believe is out of your league? Who is that spiritual guru before whom you kneel to ask for advice? They are also you. They are direct extensions of your own consciousness. They are pieces of your own divinity, rendered in other bodies of flesh. Why? Because you were too cowardly to assume that light. The terror of one's own greatness. The human mind is terrified of its own darkness, yes, but it is terrified 1,000,000 times more of its own light. Assuming that you are a being of infinite and incalculable power requires a responsibility that crushes the ego. It is much more comfortable to be small. It is safer to be an average employee who admires the billionaire CEO. It is safer than daring to say, "That financial genius is my own dormant capacity." You have been taught to give your power away. Since you were born, society trained you to build pedestals. They taught you to idolize singers, politicians, millionaires, and religious leaders. They turned you into a professional fan. A fan is, by definition, a voluntary slave. It is someone who stands under a balcony to applaud another's life while their own falls apart in anonymity. When you put someone on a pedestal, you are committing armed robbery against your own soul. You are taking your quantum gold and handing it over to another avatar. The quantum mechanics of blind admiration. Understand how this works at an electromagnetic level. You see an entrepreneur who just sold his company for $100 million. You look at him in a magazine and sigh with admiration. You say, "What a genius, how incredible he is." In that exact millisecond, you have just dug a moat between yourself and wealth. By defining him as extraordinary, you have just defined yourself by automatic contrast as ordinary. The quantum field records the transaction. You have just transferred all your financial authority to that hologram. The universe says, "Perfect. The player has decided that wealth and genius belong to another." You have externalized your own power. You have projected your capacity to generate an empire onto an actor in your movie because your current self-concept is too fragile to hold the weight of $100 million. You use successful people as museum display cases. You look at success behind glass but never break it. Envy as a divine compass. Here is where one of the most misunderstood, judged and demonized emotions in human history comes into play. An emotion that religion told you was a capital sin, but which is actually your best compass. I speak of envy. Yes, that hot and painful sting you feel in your stomach when you see a friend buy your dream house. They have told you that you must repress envy. They have told you that you must feel guilty for envying, that guilt is the Matrix's trap so that you never use the quantum information that envy is giving you. What is envy in the language of Hermeticism? It is your own I am screaming in your ear. It is your divine consciousness spitting in your face. It is the quantum radar detecting a frequency that belongs to you but that you refuse to use. You do not envy what is not in your source code. A fish does not envy a bird for flying. The fish does not even register flight as a biological possibility. The fish only registers water. If you feel envy at seeing a Ferrari, it is because the exact and mathematical capacity to be the owner of that Ferrari already exists within your quantum databank. Your soul knows that car is yours by right. Envy is the pain of cognitive dissonance. It is your soul saying, we have the vibration to be in that leather seat, transmuting the poison into fuel. The slave feels envy, fills with bitterness, criticizes the millionaire and says, surely he did something illegal to buy that car. The slave uses envy to justify his poverty and poison his own blood. The sovereign creator feels the sting of envy and smiles like a predator. The sovereign uses that dense emotion as a map. The sovereign says, how fascinating. My hologram just showed me a shiny Ferrari. That means my capacity to generate extreme wealth is already rendering on the physical plane. It is approaching. The owner of that car is not an enemy. He is a messenger of your own greatness. It is your own success pushed outward. When you transmute envy into recognition, you break the matrix. Instead of hating the successful person, you affirm coldly, that wealth is mine. That person is only holding it for a moment to show it to me. I am that abundance. The looting of Olympus. It is time to execute the greatest metaphysical robbery of your life. It is time to invade Olympus and recover the fire you gave away to false gods. You have to tear every idol you have off its pedestal. Start with your mentors and spiritual gurus. Yes, even the author of the concepts you are reading in this book. If you put me on a pedestal and believe I have a magic power you don't, you have understood absolutely nothing. I am not superior to you. The words you are reading right now do not come from an external, enlightened entity. These words are your own higher consciousness speaking to you through the disguise of this book. You manifested this text. You attracted this hard and raw information because your level of being fed up reached the limit. I am only a quantum actor, an NPC in your timeline, delivering the manual that you yourself wrote in the fifth dimension. When you idolize a master, you castrate your own mastery. The out-of-my-league trap. This toxic idolatry destroys your romantic relationships before they begin. You meet someone who seems physically dazzling, intelligent, and successful. Your primitive ego is immediately intimidated. Your mind tells you, they are too much for me. They are out of my league. They would never notice someone like me. In that same temporal second, you have just issued a lethal execution order to the electromagnetic field. By putting that person on top of a marble pedestal, you have automatically thrown yourself to the ground, into the beggar's pit. You have become an insect looking up at an unreachable god. Remember the golden law. No one has free will in your reality. If you assume that person is unreachable and superior, that person will be physically forced to look down on you with contempt or indifference. They will move away. They will treat you like an annoying fan. You ordered the actor to play the role. The magnetic absorption technique. To destroy these pedestals and recover your light, you have to master the absorption technique. It is an aggressive and silent mental process to practice whenever you feel intimidated by someone else's greatness. You are in a meeting, and a person enters who exudes charisma, security, and magnetism. Everyone looks at them. Stop that slave reaction. Take a deep breath. Look at them steadily, without looking like a psychopath, of course. And in the absolute silence of your mind, decree with an iron authority, that magnetism is mine. That crushing security is my own security pushed outward. I reclaim it right now. Feel how you inhale that energy. Imagine that shiny quality leaves that person's body like golden smoke and enters directly through your chest. You are absorbing the attribute. You are reintegrating it into your source code. You are not stealing anything. You are recovering the fragment of your own consciousness. The king has no idols. When you practice this magnetic absorption daily, a monstrous change occurs in your body language. Your posture straightens. Your gaze becomes heavy, deep, and penetrating. You stop shrinking into corners. Suddenly, the charismatic person in the meeting approaches you. They feel an irrational curiosity about your energy. They no longer see you as a fan. They see you as an equal. They see you as a king, because crowns recognize each other. The king has no idols. The king does not chase celebrities for autographs. The king is not intimidated by the wealth of other monarchs. The king respects greatness but greets it by looking it in the eye. You have to eradicate the concept of fanaticism from your identity. Erase celebrities from your mental pedestal. They are humans who discovered how to use the law of assumption before you did. That is all. They are not gods. They bleed and cry exactly like you. They just dared to sustain an assumption of greatness. The solitude of the summit. This process of recovering your light will lead you to a very particular level of emotional solitude. It is the solitude of the summit. When you stop blindly admiring others, the illusion of the shiny world goes out. You realize that you are the only generator of light in your hologram. You realize the outside world is just a room full of mirrors. Wherever you look, you're only seeing yourself in different disguises. If you see extreme beauty and fall head over heels, you must be honest. You are not in love with that biological person. You are in love with your own capacity to love. If that person leaves your life tomorrow, the slave cries, the sovereign creator does not mourn the loss of the source, because he knows the source was not in the other person. The sovereign says, the mirror broke or moved, but the light of that giant love remains intact. Tomorrow the universe will bring a new mirror. Destroying dependence on the mentor. This rule of steel also applies to business and financial evolution. If you have a brilliant boss, a business mentor, or an industry idol, you risk becoming addicted to their validation. You wait for them to give you the secret. You become dependent on their advice. If one day they fire you, your world collapses. Reclaiming your light means understanding that all the corporate brilliance you see in your mentor is your own latent genius. He is only acting as a temporary placeholder in your hologram until you wake up. You have to look at him and say, I am the source of the money and ideas. I don't need your permission. When you take desperate attention away from your mentor and return it to your own center of gravity, you become dangerous. You start generating original ideas that shatter the market. Dependence dies, and the autonomous empire is born. The mirror of lost opportunities. Another macabre trap of the reverse mirror is the illusion of the lost opportunity. You see a competitor win a prize you wanted. You see someone buy the house you desired. The primitive ego panics. It screams, they stole it from me. I was late. You feel rage, bitterness, and a sense of cosmic injustice. Calm down and use physics. The quantum universe is infinite. Scarcity does not exist. There is no shortage of houses, contracts, or love. When you see another obtaining exactly what you want, it is not a cruel mockery. It is the universe giving you a trailer of what is already on its way to you. Your desire already penetrated your hologram and is materializing in your near environment. It is bouncing off the mirrors next to you. If you stay calm and bless that manifestation, the next mirror to break will be yours. But if you get angry and say, it's unfair, you have just repelled the manifestation. The test of absolute sovereignty. To know if you have recovered your light completely, take this cold-blooded evaluation. Imagine that tomorrow they take away all your money, your ideal partner, and your mentors, leaving you naked in the middle of the desert. Would you panic? Would you feel like you are nobody? If yes, you are still a slave to mirrors. The sovereign who has assimilated the reverse mirror laughs in the desert. He looks at his bare hands and knows that the entire factory of the universe is inside his ribcage. The mirrors broke, but the projector is intact. He knows that if he closes his eyes and assumes wealth again, the sand will transform. From today, I strictly forbid you to feel inferior to any human being. I don't give a damn if you are talking to a billionaire or the most beautiful person on the planet. You will look them in the eye with the calm of a lion looking at another lion. You will reclaim the light you projected on them. Chapter 7. Breaking the Contract. The Quantum Engineering Technique to Change Someone. Philosophy is over. You have accumulated enough theory to rewrite an entire galaxy. You understand that the outside world is a blind and passive mirror. You know that no one has free will in your hologram. You know that you project both light and shadow. You have crowned yourself as the only operator of your timeline. But theory is a useless luxury if you don't know how to apply it on a Tuesday morning. When the person you love ignores you, disrespects you, or betrays you to your face. It is very easy to feel like a quantum god when you are meditating alone in your room with relaxing music. The true adept is tested in the trenches of human relations. Today we are going to enter the operating room. We are going to leave cheap motivation behind and perform pure hard engineering. I am going to teach you how to hack the behavior of a specific person. The invisible contract you signed in blood. To change someone, you first have to understand how on earth you managed to make that person become so toxic, distant, or cruel to you in the first place. You and that person do not have a relationship based on chance. You have a vibrational contract, a subconscious agreement you signed in the quantum field before exchanging your first word. That contract dictates exactly how they are going to treat you. If your partner is cold and distant, it is because at some point in your life, out of your insecurity, you drafted a clause that said, "Love is difficult and I am always rejected." Your partner, like an obedient NPC in your video game, read the invisible contract and obeyed. They nodded their head and began to play the role of an iceberg so as not to let you down. And here is the tragedy. Every time you cry over their coldness, every time you complain to them, every time you tell your friends how badly they treat you, you are renewing the contract. You are signing a 5-year extension of misery. You are signing it with your emotional blood. You are shouting to the universe, "I love this suffering, keep bringing more of the same." The deadly trap of the relationship talk. The three-dimensional slave believes that the way to change someone is to sit them on the sofa and have a deep talk about the relationship. They believe that verbal communication will bridge the gap. You cry, you explain how you feel, you beg them to change. You demand they pay attention to you. You use logical arguments. You recommend going to couples therapy to fix things. That is the most stupid, exhausting, and useless tactic in the universe. When you sit down to discuss the problem in the 3D world, you are giving physical reality to the problem. You are solidifying it. You are confirming to the other person that their toxic version is real. You are validating your own monster. You are rubbing the mirror glass with a dirty rag, hoping it will get clean. True alchemy never happens on a sofa discussing the past. Alchemy happens in the dark room of your own imagination, where the other person is not even allowed to speak. Step 1. The three-dimensional ceasefire. The first step of this engineering technique is the absolute ceasefire. From this precise second, you are strictly forbidden from arguing, complaining, or demanding a change from that person in the physical world. You close your mouth. You withdraw your troops from the physical border. You stop trying to convince them with words. You stop sending long paragraphs on WhatsApp at 3 in the morning explaining your pain. You look at the person in their current toxic state, and you understand that you are looking at a fossil. You are seeing the dead echo of your own past assumptions. You do not fight with a corpse. If they attack you, if they ignore you, if they provoke you, you become a Teflon wall. You do not react emotionally. You observe them with the coldness of a scientist looking at a laboratory rat following a predictable labyrinth. This physical disconnection is vital. It cuts off the oxygen supply to the fire of drama. By finding no resistance from you, the other person's ego will begin to lose its driving force. Step 2. The quantum shredder. Once you have declared the ceasefire in the 3D, you retreat to your mental palace. You close your physical eyes. You search for the old invisible contract you had with that person. You look at all those rotten beliefs. I don't matter to them. I am always cheated on. They are an impossible person to deal with. You take that mental contract, with all its clauses of pain, and you put it into a quantum shredder. You pulverize it. You decree with an iron voice inside you, I formally and definitively revoke my consent to experience this miserable version of this person. This contract is annulled by my sovereign authority. Feel the relief of that destruction. Feel how the invisible threads that tied you to the drama are cut with one blow. You have cleared the desk. Now you have a blank sheet of paper glowing in front of you. Step 3. Drafting the new contract. Now you are going to write the new source code. You are going to design the parallel version of this person, the version you always wanted, but were too afraid to assume you deserved. Don't be shy. Don't ask for crumbs. Don't draft a contract that says, I hope they treat me a little better. That is mediocrity. Draft a clause of epic and divine proportions. This person is deeply, crazily, and unconditionally in love with me. They treat me with absolute devotion. They respect me as their highest authority. I am their non-negotiable priority and their greatest treasure. This is your new cosmic legal text. Read it, feel it. Does it seem arrogant to you? Perfect. Creation demands holy arrogance. The universe only obeys those who do not apologize for their standards. Step 4. Installing the avatar. Writing the contract is not enough. You have to install the new software into your central nervous system. This is where Neville Goddard's technique of visualization and internal conversation comes in. Sit in silence. Invoke the face of this person on your mental screen, but do not invoke the grumpy fossil you know. Invoke the new avatar. Look them in the eyes in your imagination. You are going to notice that the new avatar's eyes shine with love, respect, and submission to your kingdom. You are going to force this avatar to say exactly the words that validate your new contract. Put the words in their mouth. Hear them say, I have been a blind idiot all this time. You are the most incredible thing that has happened to me. I love you with desperation, and I will do whatever it takes to make you happy. Hear the exact tone of their voice. Feel their breath. Feel the warmth of their hand taking yours. You have to force your imaginary senses to give a terrifying sharpness to this scene. The baptism of emotion. The image alone is cold. It needs the fire of combustion. While you hear the avatar tell you those words of surrender, you have to trigger the electromagnetic emotion in your own chest. Do not feel hope. Feel relief. Feel the weight falling from your shoulders. Feel the oceanic peace of knowing that the war is over. Know that finally you are loved as you deserve, and that the victory is yours. Bathe in that emotion for 5, 10, or 15 minutes. Let your cells be saturated with the neuropeptides of romantic triumph. Your brain will believe that the reconciliation has already occurred in the physical world. You have just signed the new contract with your own emotional blood. You have just sealed the document in the 5th dimension. The transaction is complete. Step 5. The bloody mental diet. This is where 95% of the weak fail miserably. They perform the perfect technique at night. They cry with joy. But the next morning they get up, look at their phone, and there is no message. Immediately, their subconscious mind, addicted to tragedy, begins to vomit poison. They begin to think, they are still just as cold, they are probably with someone else, this assumption stuff doesn't work. Boom! You just took the shredded contract out of the trash, taped it back together, and signed the misery again. You just murdered your own miracle due to a lack of mental discipline. The mental diet is the blood price of your new reality. During 24 hours a day, you become a military tyrant of your own thoughts regarding this specific person. You are absolutely forbidden from having a single internal conversation of complaint, grievance, or doubt about them. If you are washing dishes and you catch yourself imagining an argument with your partner, drop the dish. You scream mentally, "Cancelled." You decapitate that thought without mercy, and immediately after, you inject the voice of the new avatar, repeating the dialogue of love and submission you programmed the night before. It is a guerrilla war inside your skull. You will have to kill the old habit 100 times a day. You will get exhausted. Your brain will beg to return to the comfort of complaining. Do not allow it. Keep it on the cross until the old man dies. The double vision facing the fossil. The inevitable moment will come. You will have to interact with this person in the 3D world before the change fully materializes. You will find yourself face to face with the physical fossil. The person will act according to their old pattern. They will speak to you dryly, or they will ignore you. Your 3-dimensional heart will want to shrink and suffer. Here you must apply the advanced technique of double vision. Your eyes of flesh will see the cold fossil, but your quantum eyes, your internal vision, will be superimposing the image of the loving avatar directly over their physical face. It is like seeing augmented reality. While they speak to you with contempt in the 3D, you do not listen to their physical words. You are listening to the echo of your assumption in your head. They say, "I don't have time for you." You hear, "I adore you. I am desperate to see you." You smile at them internally. You smile with the patience of an adult watching a child throw a ridiculous tantrum. You are not offended. You know they are executing the last remnant of obsolete software. The system is about to reboot. The extinction burst in chaos. And then hell will break loose. The physics of resistance will make itself present. Before the person changes radically in your favor, they will experience what in behavioral psychology is called the extinction burst. By feeling that you have withdrawn the supply of your drama, they will panic. By feeling that you have changed their source code telepathically, the person's ego will enter a state of deaf survival panic. Their toxic behavior will not improve gradually, it will worsen dramatically. If they ignored you before, now they will block you. If they were cold before, now they will be cruel. They will try to push you to the limit, to force you to react. The universe is testing you. The matrix is verifying if your new contract has forged signatures or if it is sealed with titanium. Most are terrified in this burst. They cry, and they abandon the technique. They become slaves again. The adept laughs in the middle of the storm. The adept knows that when the monster screams loudest, it is because the sword has pierced its heart, and it is giving its last death spasms. In the face of the extinction burst, you apply a double dose of cold isolation and mental diet. You become an immovable mountain. You do not yield a single millimeter of your assumption of royalty. You tighten the tourniquet until the resistance ceases. The collapse and resurrection of the avatar. If you keep your center of gravity intact, if you refuse to rub the physical glass and hold the image of the new avatar with non-negotiable faith, quantum physics will intervene with a mathematically perfect violence. The tension between your new frequency of absolute love and the attitude of rejection will break. It will reach an unsustainable breaking point. And from one second to the next, the dam will burst. The hologram will give way. You will receive a message out of nowhere, a call at an ungodly hour, or they will appear at your door, and the attitude they will have will be unrecognizable. It will seem as if they have been possessed by a different entity. They will cry. They will ask your forgiveness for things they didn't even know they were doing. They will say exactly the words you programmed in your meditation with the same tone of voice you imagined. They will tell you that suddenly they couldn't stop thinking about you. They will tell you that they felt an irrational impulse to seek you out, to fix things, to love you. They will believe it was an epiphany born of their own free will. And you, from the majesty of your silence, will embrace them. You will not mock them. You will not say, "I programmed you with my mind, puppet." That would be a stupidity of infantile ego. You receive the miracle with compassion and cold gratitude. You have broken the old contract. You have installed the software update in a living human being. You have altered the fabric of your reality through the pure brute force of your disciplined imagination. The paradox of the final detachment. But there is a macabre trap in this technique that you must avoid at all costs. 90% of students fail because they apply the technique from desperation. They want to change the person because they need that person to be happy. If your underlying motive is, "I have to do this because I'll die if he doesn't write to me," stop. You are emitting a frequency of absolute lack. The universe will read "I die without him" and materialize his perpetual absence. The technique of breaking the contract only works when you apply it from tyrannical fullness. You have to assume the new avatar not so they come to make you happy. You do it because you are already immensely happy and only tolerate excellence in your kingdom. You have to reach a level of detachment so sick and divine that you really don't give a damn if the person in the 3D changes or not. Your happiness has to depend exclusively on the image in your head. When your mental movie gives you so much satisfaction and peace that you no longer desperately look for proof on your physical phone, that is when the miracle happens. Matter always pursues those who do not need it. When you release the claws of need, when you say, I'm already loved in my internal world. When you say the 3D can do whatever it wants, the 3D panics over your lack of interest and throws the person at your feet to recover your attention. Cutting the threads of toxic kakarot. You must apply this contract rewriting not only to your romantic partner, but to all spheres of your life. Apply it to your abusive boss. Apply it to your manipulative mother. Apply it to the stubborn client. It is surgery without a physical scalpel. It requires you to spend more time inhabiting your brain than your living room. It requires you to value your invisible vision more than the physical insults you receive in the present. You are domesticating the wild animals of your hologram. You are teaching them to sit and obey the new vibration of your electromagnetic field. Not with whips, but with the pure pressure of your frequency. But as you clean your environment and reprogram the actors, you will face a brutal ethical and practical dilemma. There will be moments when your new frequency is so high that certain actors simply will not be able to update. Their source code will be so old, rancid, and incompatible with your new empire. The casting agency of the universe will determine that they cannot be reprogrammed. It will determine they must be destroyed and eliminated from the play. The universe will demand that you break the mirror definitively. It will demand that you physically abandon people, places, and jobs you've been attached to for decades. Chapter 8: Tactical Disconnection. When the mirror must break in the art of quantum amputation, you have mastered the engineering of the mind. You know how to rewrite a vibrational contract. You know how to force an actor to recite a new script using the pure force of your imagination. You have realized that you can alter the behavior of your partner, your boss, or your clients. You have the power to hack the nervous system of any human. You have the power to hack any human who crosses into your hologram. But now we face a dilemma of high spiritual hierarchy, a problem only experienced by adepts who have raised their electromagnetic frequency to stratospheric levels. The dilemma is, what happens when you become a 100-story skyscraper, but the person you are trying to reprogram? What happens when the person you are trying to reprogram is a hut of rotten mud about to collapse? What happens when your new vibration of wealth, peace, and excellence is so massive, so bright, and so heavy that the biological and mental hardware of the other person simply cannot support it? The tricycle and the private jet. This is where your spiritual ego can set a deadly trap for you. You believe that because you can reprogram someone, you have a cosmic obligation to do so. You cling to people who have already expired. Listen to me with relentless logic. If you just manifested a state-of-the-art private jet, would you spend 500 hours? Would you spend 500 hours trying to reprogram a rusty tricycle to fly at the speed of sound? Of course not. It would be monumental stupidity. The tricycle served its purpose when you were a child. It taught you to pedal. It gave you contrast. But its physical structure is not designed for the stratosphere. There are people in your three-dimensional hologram who are rusty tricycles. They served a sacred purpose in your life. They showed you exactly what you did not want. They pushed you to the limit of your pain. They were the perfect villains who forced you to wake up from your spiritual coma. They were the broken mirrors that made you bleed until you decided to reclaim your creative power. They fulfilled their contract, but now you have mutated. Your vibrational DNA has changed. You are a private jet. And if you try to drag that rusty tricycle toward the skies of your new empire, the dead weight will crash your ship. The illusion of fleeing versus the majesty of departing. You have to learn to leave. You have to master the art of tactical disconnection. But you must take extreme care because there is a very fine line between fleeing out of cowardice and departing out of sovereignty. 99% of humanity does not know how to leave. They only know how to flee. The three-dimensional slave believes that physically fleeing from a problem is the definitive solution. He quits his job by slamming doors. He screams at and blocks his ex. The slave flees because he is terrified. He flees because the other person's behavior continues to hurt him. He flees from anger, resentment, and deep victimhood. Do you know what happens when you flee from fear or rage? You take the projector with you, turned onto the same frequency. You move to another city, you change jobs, you get a new partner on another continent. But because you fled feeling like a victim, the quantum field detects that electromagnetic signature. In your new city, the universe will clone exactly the same villain with another name and another face. The universe will say, The player did not solve the level. He only turned off the screen out of frustration. Reload the same monster in the next map, so he learns the lesson once and for all. The karmic recycling of cowards. This is called karmic recycling. It is the reason why you always end up with narcissists no matter how many times you change environments. Geographical or physical flight is a scam if there is no mental leap. If you block your toxic mother on WhatsApp, but you spend your afternoons crying about how mean she was, you are not disconnected. You are still plugged into her energy matrix through the cable of resentment. True tactical disconnection is not born of fear or anger. It is born of a divine apathy. It is born of absolute boredom. It is born of the physical certainty that this person no longer belongs to your league of existence. The adept does not flee from the monster. The adept looks the monster in the eye and realizes that the rubber costume is pathetic and cheap. The adept loses interest in the play and simply leaves the room. When you leave from sovereignty, you do not slam doors. You do not scream. You do not feel the need to humiliate the other to feel superior. You leave with the silent elegance of a ghost who has finished his business on earth. The symptom of frequency mutation. How do you know when it is the exact moment to stop trying to reprogram someone and simply amputate them from your life? Your own body and your reality will give you the symptoms of this frequency mutation. The first symptom is a lack of emotional friction. The things that used to make you cry or explode with rage regarding that person suddenly seem ridiculous. You look at them and feel an icy neutrality. The second symptom is spatial suffocation. When you are in the same room as that person, you literally feel like you are running out of air. You feel that the room is too small for the size of your new aura. Their conversation about complaints, illnesses, and gossip creates an unbearable biological heaviness in you. You do not hate them, but your central nervous system rejects their presence like a body rejects an incompatible organ. You are vibrating at 1,000 hertz, and they are still anchored at 10 hertz. The cognitive dissonance is so brutal that quantum physics demands an immediate spatial separation to avoid a structural collapse. The myth of closure and the last conversation. This is where your ego will try to drag you back into the mud. When you decide it is time to break the mirror and walk away, your mind will tell you, I need to have one last talk with this person. I need closure. You believe you need to sit down for a coffee with your ex-partner or toxic associate to explain why you're leaving. You want them to understand your evolution. You want them to validate your growth. Erase that stupidity from your head today. Closure is the greatest myth of cheap psychology. It is a trap designed by your addiction to drama to get one last dose of emotional friction before departing. You do not need a blind slave to validate your perfect sight. You do not need a tricycle to understand the aerodynamics of a private jet. Explaining your new light to a person who adores darkness is an insult to your own intelligence. If you seek that physical closure, you will only achieve them using your words against you. They will use guilt, victimhood, and manipulation to try to pull you back down to their miserable frequency. The clean and silent amputation. Closure never happens at a coffee table. Closure happens solely and exclusively in the engine room of your consciousness. It is a unilateral decree. It is a solo signature. Tactical disconnection demands a clean amputation. When a surgeon has to cut off a gangrenous arm to save a life, he doesn't give explanations. He doesn't give explanations to the gangrene. He simply takes the scalpel and cuts fast. If the person does not bring absolute excellence, unconditional love, or unbreakable loyalty to your empire, you cut them, without speeches, without long WhatsApp messages justifying your decision. Silence is the sharpest scalpel. You withdraw your quantum attention. You stop feeding them with your thought energy. If they seek you out, you respond with empty and distant cordiality. You are a marble wall, slippery, cold, and impossible to climb. Faced with this clean amputation, the energy parasite is left without supply. Finding nothing to hold on to, it will wither in your hologram and disappear through the back door of the stage without making a sound. The guilt of the quantum survivor. But there is a ghost that will haunt you during the first days of this amputation. It is the ghost of the survivor. You will feel guilt for having left them behind. You will feel that you have abandoned them to their fate. Your mind will torture you. What if they get depressed? What if they cannot live without me? Am I a bad person for choosing my wealth and peace of mind over their chronic pain? This guilt is the last chain of the matrix. You have to understand a ruthless spiritual truth. You are no one's savior. Every soul in this universe is having exactly the experience that its I am chose. If that person chose the timeline of suffering, victimhood, and mediocrity, it is their divine right to do so. They have the same infinite intelligence as you beating in their chest, but they have decided to use it to sleep. Respecting the sleep of others is the highest form of cosmic love. Do not try to kick awake those who want to keep sleeping. Let them dream their nightmares. They have eternity to wake up when they are ready. Your only moral obligation in this universe is to bring your own consciousness to the highest, most obscene, and brightest level possible. Your duty is to light your lighthouse. Whoever wants to sail toward the light will do so. Whoever prefers to crash will crash. The phantom pain and withdrawal. I will not lie to you. Breaking the mirror hurts physically. Your body has been addicted to the chemicals of drama for years. You are a junkie for the cortisol and adrenaline that toxic relationship produced. When you amputate the person from your life, you will experience what in medicine is called phantom pain. Patients who have a leg cut off sometimes feel that the foot that no longer exists itches or hurts. You will feel exactly the same. You will feel the irrational urge to check their social media. You will feel the impulse to send them a message, just to know how they are. Your brain will scream for a dose. Your brain will scream for its habitual poison. You have to tie yourself to the mast of the ship like Odysseus, to not succumb to the siren's song. Understand that this anxiety is not love. It is not that you miss them. You miss the chemical intensity of the illness you shared. Treat this phase like a heroin withdrawal syndrome. Sweat out the poison. Tremble if you have to tremble. Mourn the death of your old identity, but under no mitigating circumstance pick up the phone to call them again. Mourning your old self. Many times we confuse mourning. When you leave a partner of 10 years because they were holding back your success, you are not crying for the biological person. You are mourning the funeral of the version of yourself that was happy being a slave. You are burying your own ignorance. You are saying goodbye to the cheap innocence of when you believed love meant sacrifice and pain. It is a majestic funeral. Dress in internal mourning, pay your respects, and bury the coffin. Do not let nostalgia deceive you. Nostalgia is a lying video editor. It will take a relationship of 5 years of abuse and show you only the 3 happy days you had at the beach to convince you to go back. The sovereign creator does not negotiate with emotional terrorists, and nostalgia is the worst of all. When the video of good memories tries to play, turn off the projector. Turn off the projector and turn on the lights of the operating room. Remember with surgical coldness why you took the scalpel. Remember the suffocation. Remember the mediocrity. Remember that you were betraying your own galactic destiny by settling for the crumbs of attention from a broken hologram. The blessing of the fossil and final neutrality. The process of tactical disconnection does not end with physical distancing or overcoming withdrawal. The process ends solely and exclusively when you reach absolute neutrality. Neutrality is the zero level of quantum resistance. It is when you can think of that person and your heart rate does not change. Your heart rate does not alter for even a fraction of a second. You do not feel anger. You do not feel resentment. You do not feel a desire for revenge. But you also do not feel romantic love or nostalgia. You feel exactly the same as you feel looking at an empty chair or a stone in the road, nothing. When you reach that steel indifference, you know you have recovered 100% of your electromagnetic energy. The invisible umbilical cord has been disintegrated. You have reabsorbed all your quantum investments. In that moment of neutrality, you can execute the final act of mastery, the blessing of the fossil. From your internal throne, you look at the mental image of that person and thank them deeply for the role they played. You tell them in silence, "Thank you for having been the perfect monster. Thank you for pushing me to the limit. Thank you for having destroyed my life enough to force me to remember that I am God." You are released from my script. By blessing and releasing them, you shield yourself. There is no longer karma chasing you. You left no pending accounts in the ether. You paid the emotional bill in full and retired from the three-dimensional restaurant with class. The paradox of the void after the cut. Once you have cleared the battlefield, you will find yourself again in the fertile void, of which we spoke in previous chapters. You have pruned the rotten branches of the tree. The garden is clean, but the silence of that garden can be overwhelming. By eliminating all the toxic actors, you will realize your phone book is empty. Your phone book has become practically empty. Your weekends will be drama-free. Your nights will be free of arguments. And the temptation to fill that void quickly with new people will be gigantic. Your ego will want to hire new actors immediately so as not to be bored. Resist. Do not put new trash in a recently cleaned castle. The universe needs processing time to scan your new frequency of purity and begin to audition the high-caliber actors you now deserve. If you rush to fill the void from the fear of loneliness, the quantum casting agency will grab the first mediocre actor. The agency will hand them to you, repeating the cycle of pain. Enjoy the emperor's solitude. Use this time of silence to strengthen your self-concept. Dedicate yourself to building the infrastructure of your financial, physical, and mental empire. Become your own object of obsession. When you fall in love with your own solitude and become absolutely self-sufficient emotionally, you become the most magnetic and dangerous being in the universe. You are a neutron star, attracting entire solar systems. The right of admission to the empire. From today, your life is a private club of extreme exclusivity. You are the owner of the club and you are the security guard at the door, and the right of admission is the strictest rule of your existence. No one enters your electromagnetic field if they do not bring with them an offering of peace, loyalty, and massive expansion. You do not accept people who demand you lower the volume of your brilliance so they do not feel overshadowed. If someone enters your life and in the first weeks you detect the slightest sign of manipulation, envy, or drama, you do not give them a second chance. You do not take out your reprogramming tools to try to fix them. Remember, you do not reprogram tricycles. If the actor comes defective from the factory and does not fit the vision of your skyscraper, you open the exit door immediately. You amputate on day one. You do not let the infection advance. That ruthlessness, that surgical cruelty to protect your peace is what the universe respects. By demonstrating that you do not tolerate scum in your hologram, the quantum field will stop sending you scum to test you. You have broken the mirror. You have walked away from the burning theater without looking back. You have cut the umbilical cord that tied you to the matrix of your past relationships. You are floating in the absolute space of your own creative sovereignty. But as you ascend this scale of power, as you stand alone at the top with your new light, a new demon will try to invade your fortress. A demon much more subtle and destructive than physical villains. It is the demon of comparison, of hidden envy, and of the terror that someone else might steal what has cost you so much work to manifest. It is the fear of losing the crown you just recovered. Chapter 9: The End of Jealousy and Competition. The assassination of the third party and the illusion of scarcity. You have purged your three-dimensional hologram. You have fired the villains, the parasites, and the emotional vampires of your life. You are breathing the pure, cold, and majestic air of your own quantum sovereignty. You feel untouchable on your throne. You know you are the only director of the movie. But the human ego is a cunning and poisonous survival machine. When you close the front door of fear and trauma, the ego tries to crawl in through the back window of your mental castle. It looks for a new excuse to make you suffer. And its favorite weapon, the most destructive and humiliating of all, is replacement. It tries to convince you that someone else can come to steal your crown. It is the pathological terror of being replaced. Today we are going to annihilate the two oldest and most pathetic demons of humanity, jealousy in love and competition in money. We are going to rip this infection out of your source code forever, the blasphemy of insecurity. You have been taught to normalize jealousy. You have been sold the lie that feeling jealous is a demonstration of love. Pop culture sings you songs about broken hearts and third parties in discord. Movies show you love triangles as if drama were the pinnacle of romanticism. You were programmed to believe in theft. They programmed you to believe that if you love someone, you must live terrified that someone else will take them away. Listen to me with all the cold blood of the universe. Jealousy has absolutely nothing to do with love. Jealousy is the loudest declaration of inferiority you can emit in the quantum field. When you feel jealous, you are not protecting your territory. You are screaming to the infinite intelligence, I am not enough. I know I am mediocre, and anyone else in the world is better than me. Jealousy is a direct blasphemy against your I am. If you are God experiencing this hologram in the flesh, how can you be intimidated? The illusion of the third party. Let's dissect the anatomy of a quantum infidelity. You have a partner. Suddenly a third party appears on the scene, an attractive co-worker, an ex who returns, or someone on social media. Your partner smiles at them, or gives a like to their photo. Immediately your primitive brain turns on the attack alarms. Your heart races. You feel a knot of acid in your stomach. Panic suffocates you. You start checking their phone. You ask passive-aggressive questions. You compare your body, your intelligence, or your bank account with those of that third party. You convince yourself that you are going to lose the battle. Stop right there, blind creator. Remember the master law from chapter 1. No one has free will in your reality. Everyone is you pushed out. Who do you think that damn third party is? That third party did not appear by chance. That third party has no autonomy to steal anything from you. They are a hollow hologram. They were summoned, auditioned, and hired by your own subconscious fears. You invited the ghost. You created the lover. You manufactured them with the energy of your insecurities. For months you harbored the fear of not being enough. You doubted your value. You secretly assumed that love always ends in betrayal. The quantum field received that order of scarcity. And since the universe is a blind servant, it obeyed. It had to materialize an actor in 3D to play the role of your replacement. You handed the script of infidelity to your partner, and you yourself put the third party on stage so the scene would make sense. And now, like a lunatic, you cry over the play that you yourself directed. Feeling jealous of a third party is exactly like writing a horror book, reading it at night, and then hiding under the bed, trembling with fear of the monsters you just invented. The quantum murder of the third party. How do you eliminate a third party? The 3D slave tries to eliminate them in the physical world. They forbid their partner to talk to that person. They make scenes of jealousy in public. They threaten the rival. That tactic is suicide. When you make a scene of jealousy, you are transferring all your power to them. You are bathing them with your vital energy. You are making them real, solid, and dangerous. By demonstrating fear, you confirm to your partner and the universe that you consider yourself inferior to that person. And the universe, obeying your decree of inferiority, will make your partner fall in love with them and leave you. The adept annihilates the third party without saying a single word in the physical world. The adept locks himself in his mind, identifies the belief of scarcity that created the ghost, and cuts off the energy supply at the root. The sovereign decrees, I am the only option. I am the absolute prize. That third party is not a threat. They are just an echo of my old doubts. I withdraw my attention right now. That person ceases to exist in my reality. You do not watch your partner. You do not check their phone. You completely ignore the rival's existence with a monumental and cold contempt. You assume your majesty. The collapse of the rival. When you withdraw your fear and attention from that third party, a spectacular physical phenomenon occurs. By cutting off their quantum oxygen, the third party vanishes from your timeline like mist in the sun. Either they change jobs and move cities, or they magically lose all interest in your partner. Or your partner wakes up one day and feels an inexplicable repulsion toward that person who previously attracted them. The threat disappears without you having shed a single tear or raised your voice. You have murdered the rival in the fifth dimension, simply remembering that you are the only authority on the chessboard. Competition is for peasants. This same poison of jealousy destroys your financial empire. The capitalist world has brainwashed you with the shark mentality. They tell you that the market is a jungle and you have to crush the competition. They teach you that resources are limited, that if your competitor closes a sale, there is less for you. You believe you are playing a game of musical chairs where someone has to stay standing. That is the vision of a peasant terrified of winter. It is the illusion of material scarcity. Quantum physics shows us that the universe is an infinite ocean of malleable energy. There is no limit to wealth. Competition is an absolute three-dimensional illusion. At the level of creative consciousness, you do not compete with anyone. You have no rivals in your industry. You have the absolute monopoly of your own vibration. The paranoid competitor syndrome. You launch a brilliant product to the market. 3 months later, you see another account on social media or another company copying your idea. They offer the same as you, but cheaper. And your ego enters financial panic. You feel envy, rage, and jealousy. You start obsessing over their movements. You check their profile every day. You copy their strategies for fear of being left behind. You waste your vital energy on hating them. You just ruined your business. By focusing on them with fear, you just made them the protagonists of your hologram. You just handed them the keys to your quantum and financial safe. If you have the mathematical certainty that your I am is the inexhaustible source of your wealth, what the hell do you care what a competitor does? Does an ocean worry if someone takes a glass of water from the shore? The competitor who copies you is simply the universe validating that your idea was brilliant. It is an echo of your success. But they are only copying the 3D physical shell. They cannot copy your electromagnetic frequency. The strategy of spiritual monopoly. The sovereign creator does not look sideways. When you run a race looking at the runner in the next lane, you lose speed, you trip, and you fall. The sovereign only looks toward the finish line of his own vision. Let them copy you. Let them try to steal clients. If you keep your state of dwelling focused on your own massive and arrogant expansion, your clients will never go with them, no matter how cheap they sell. People do not buy physical products. People buy electromagnetic resonance. They buy the aura of authority that you emit. And your competitor, who operates from envy and copying, emits an aura of cheap desperation. When you ignore the competition and concentrate exclusively on saturating your mind with the assumption of monopoly and extreme wealth, your competitor goes bankrupt, disappears, or becomes irrelevant in your timeline. The poison of comparison. Social media has been designed by the Matrix as weapons of mass destruction of your self-esteem. They are machines that generate jealousy and chronic comparison. They are designed to keep you in low frequency. You go on Instagram and see someone younger, richer, with a more sculptural body and a perfect partner. In a second, your vibration goes from king to slave. You feel miserable. You feel like you are losing in the game of life. You forget that you are looking at a window of curated lies. But even worse, you forget the law of the reverse mirror. If you see that wealth and beauty, it is because it is already available. It is already in your quantum field. But by comparing yourself from lack, by feeling inferior, you reject the manifestation. You tell the universe, I can never have that. They are better than me. And the universe obeys, pulling you away from your own gold. The Creator compares himself to no one. There is no point of comparison possible when you know that you are the only real player. Comparing yourself to another human is as if the sky compared itself to a drawing on a piece of paper. The cure, divine egocentrism. The only cure for jealousy and competition is to develop what I call divine egocentrism. You have to fall in love with yourself with a ferocity that borders on madness in the eyes of normal society. It is not toxic narcissism. The narcissist loves himself to hide his deep internal hatred and needs to step on others. Divine egocentrism is loving yourself so much that you don't even notice there are others around you. It is knowing, with a bored and cold certainty, that you are the greatest treasure of your reality. If your partner wants to go with another, you don't cry. You open the door and say good luck trying to replace a god. If a client decides to go with your competitor, you don't offer discounts out of pity. You say, have an excellent time, and you know that the empty space they left will be filled by 3 clients who will pay double without hesitation. The magnetism of imperturbability. Do you know what happens in the 3D world when you adopt this attitude of detachment and divine egocentrism? You become the most addictive and magnetic substance on planet Earth. You break the will of everyone around you. Human beings are terrified and fascinated by someone they cannot control. When your partner notices that you don't feel jealous, that you don't check their phone, and that you could live perfectly without them, they panic at the thought of losing you. They realize they don't have you secured. They realize you are a free eagle. And by pure biological survival instinct, they will try harder. They will start trying 3 times as hard to keep your attention. They will become devoted to you. When your clients see that you don't beg for their money, that the competition doesn't intimidate you, and that your prices are firm as rocks, their primitive brains assume you have the most valuable resource. They will chase you with checks in hand. Power always invariably flees from the one who pursues it from need, and runs toward the feet of the one who sits immobile on his throne of ice, indifferent to the chaos outside. How to react to a real betrayal. But what if the event already happened in the physical world? What if the infidelity was consummated? Or if the partner stole the money before you learned to master your consciousness? The wounded ego will demand blood. It will want revenge. It will want to destroy the traitor's reputation on social media. It will want to sink them. If you do that, you drop to their frequency of mud and you lose your crown. You become just another animal. Revenge is for the weak. It is admitting that someone had the power to hurt you, and now you must balance the scales. The sovereign does not take revenge. The sovereign applies the quantum amputation of Chapter 8. He understands that the traitor was only executing the old contract of scarcity. He looks at them, mentally thanks them for the painful lesson, and erases them from his timeline without addressing a single word of hate to them. And then, apply the revision of Chapter 11. Erase the betrayal from your mind. Assume the money was never lost, but was an investment that will multiply by 10. Assume the breakup was a divine rescue to open the way for an epic love. The test of financial and romantic peace. If you have assimilated this chapter, you will experience an immediate physical change in your body. Your breathing will be slower. That chronic pain in your stomach, caused by the anxiety of losing what you love, will disappear forever. You will walk down the street next to your partner. If someone attractive looks at them, you will not feel jealousy. You will feel pride. You will smile thinking, of course they have good taste. But that person sleeps in my bed and worships my empire. You will see your competitors launch big marketing campaigns, and instead of being scared, you will smile. You will think, it's good they are educating the market. When the clients want the real product of maximum authority, they will come to me. That peace is unbreakable. You have built tungsten armor around your heart and your financial vault. You are no longer just another player in the Matrix casino. You are the owner of the damn casino. The last barrier of the third dimension. You have destroyed the illusion of third parties. You have murdered scarcity. You have realized that the cake is infinite and you don't have to fight for a slice. But despite this peace and this sacred arrogance, you still inhabit a biological body. You still have to navigate the day-to-day. And in that day-to-day, the Matrix has one last trick to try to break your creator state. It will not use other people. It will not use competitors. It will use something much more intimate and annoying. It will use the very concept of space, time, and the pressure of the social world. It will bombard you with the noise of the masses. The tribe of the sleeping will try to pull you down from your throne, not with attacks, but with constant distractions, unasked for opinions, and a suffocating skepticism about your new way of life. You have to learn to use silence as a weapon. Chapter 10. The Sovereign in the Cinema Hall. The Final Mastery and the Unshakable Peace of the Projector. You have reached the summit. You have traveled a path of blood, of ego demolition and quantum surgery. You have stopped rubbing the damn glass of the mirror. You understood that the villains were your own fears pushed outward. You fired the toxic actors. You stopped trying to save those who love wallowing in the mud. You hacked the arguments in the silence of your mind and reclaimed the light you had given away to your idols. You destroyed jealousy and the illusion of competition. You are no longer the same frightened primate that opened this book. Your nervous system has been reconfigured with titanium, but now we face the trial by fire. How do you live in the real world when you know the secret? How do you walk through the streets of your city, knowing that all the people you cross paths with are echoes of your own consciousness? The definitive metaphor of the Matrix. To understand your new place in the world, you have to visualize an immense cinema hall. It is dark, gigantic, and absolutely packed with people. On the giant screen, a hyper-realistic movie is projected. There are scenes of war, drama, financial terror, romantic betrayals, and medical tragedies. 99% of humanity is sitting in the seats. They are hypnotized by the screen. They cry in terror when the monster appears. They scream in anguish when the protagonist loses his money. They are so immersed in the optical illusion that they believe the movie is absolute reality. If you tell them it is just light, they will attack you. You used to be sitting in one of those seats. You used to break out in a cold sweat over inflation, politicians, and the fear that your partner would abandon you. You were a slave to the screen, but metaphysics and the law of assumption kicked you out of that seat. They made you walk through the hidden stairs and enter the booth, the machine room of your consciousness. That projection booth is your subconscious mind. It is small, silent, and isolated from the noise of the hall. Inside, there is only one machine, the projector of your I am. The white, pure, and blinding light coming out of the projector is your consciousness of existing. That light has no form, no limits, and it does not judge. The film strip passing in front of that light consists of your assumptions. They are your beliefs, your fears, and your concepts about money and love. When the light of your consciousness passes through the strip of your beliefs, the resulting image is stamped on the giant screen of the three-dimensional world. If you put in a tragedy strip, the screen will show tears and debts. The people in the seats, the avatars of your world, will cry, and you, from the booth, will observe the chaos without being altered. Because now you know that to change the movie, you don't have to go down to the hall to fight with the actors on the screen. You only have to turn around, stop the projector, take out the drama strip, put in the strip of your billionaire empire and hit the power button. Reality changes instantly. Walking among the sleeping. This is the exact attitude with which you must walk through the world starting today. You become the sovereign of the cinema hall. You are in the world, but you are no longer of the world. You will go to the supermarket, the office, and out to dinner. You will be surrounded by thousands of people talking about crisis and bad luck. Your old ego will want to feel toxic empathy. It will want to descend to their level to connect through shared suffering. It will want to agree with them so as not to stand out. The sovereign blocks that reaction with an icy shield. You listen to them complain, you nod out of social courtesy, but inside you are smiling with calm. You know they are trapped in the seat. You know they are suffering for a movie that they themselves could change if they knew the secret, but you do not try to wake them up by force. Respect for the sleep of others. One of the greatest mistakes of the newly awakened creator is the Messiah complex. You want to grab all your friends and family by the shoulders and shake them screaming, "You are God, wake up!" You try to explain that their illness is an assumption or their poverty is a projection. And what do you receive? Hate and mockery. The Matrix has impeccable defense mechanisms. Sleeping people will defend their right to be miserable with tooth and nail. They will amass scientific and economic theories to justify their slavery. The sovereign does not waste a single volt of energy debating with slaves. If they like their cell, the sovereign moves on. Your job is not to evangelize the world. Your only job is to live a life so obscenely brilliant, rich, and peaceful that the world has no choice but to wonder how you did it. You preach with physical results. You teach with the example of your own crown. When they ask how you made millions in a crisis, you only smile. You will tell them you had vision and luck. You will give them the 3D answer that their minds can process without panicking. You will only share the secrets of the projector with those who genuinely ask to leave the hall. The end of demands on the world. The definitive mark of mastery at this level is the absolute cessation of demanding. 99% of your past frustrations were born from demanding that the mirror give you something you did not have. You demanded that your partner make you happy, your boss value you, or the government give you opportunities. You were a beggar hitting the cinema screen asking for alms. The sovereign never demands anything from the three-dimensional world. It is physically impossible to demand something from your own shadow. Do you scream at your shadow on the asphalt to make it walk faster? Of course not. If you want love, you don't look for it in someone else's text messages. You enter your projection booth, saturate your mind with the emotion of being immensely loved, and let the 3D reflect it by inertia. If you want wealth, you don't complain to clients. You saturate your mind with the mathematical certainty of abundance. This lack of demand makes you the most relaxed and peaceful human being on the planet. Literally nothing can offend you, because no one owes you anything, and you owe nothing to anyone. The game becomes incredibly light. Handling global chaos. But what happens when the movie gets really dark? What happens when you turn on the news and see pandemics, world wars, or financial collapses? Your reptilian biology will try to inject panic. It will tell you the world is ending. It will tell you your empire cannot survive the global crisis. Here is where you prove if you are a creator or a fraud. Global chaos is simply the script of the collective unconscious. It is the fear of billions of minds added together on one screen. You don't have to buy the ticket for that movie. If you hold your frequency high, you create a quantum bubble of immunity. While the whole world enters recession and companies go bankrupt next to you, you will close the best year of your life. Your sales will multiply. You will find opportunities that the blind cannot see through the smoke of panic. History is full of people who built fortunes during depressions. It was vibrational isolation, the art of selective blindness. To maintain this immunity, you have to apply selective blindness with tyrannical discipline. Your information consumption has to be filtered with high-precision military scanners. If the algorithm shows you misfortune or political fights, you block those accounts without thinking. You clean your algorithm like your home. Your mind is not a public trash can for newscasts to deposit radioactive waste. Every piece of terror news you consume is a seed you are allowing to fall into your quantum projector. The sovereign ignores 95% of world information because it is irrelevant to their creation coordinate. This voluntary blindness to the misfortunes of others will make people call you insensitive or ignorant. Let them insult you. It is 1,000 times better to be a successful and happy ignorant person than a depressed broke scholar filled with anxiety. The integration of the physical avatar. At this point, an existential doubt arises. If everything is my own consciousness and the world is just a hologram, why do I get out of bed? Why bother doing business, exercising, or having sex if everything is an illusion? This is the danger of spiritual nihilism. Many fall into the trap of thinking 3D is bad. They want to escape 3D by meditating all day in a cave, and they forget to live. That is a cowardly interpretation of the law. The sovereign understands that the 3D world is an illusion, yes, but it is an absolutely beautiful illusion, designed perfectly to be enjoyed and mastered through the 5 senses. You did not come to this incarnation of flesh to flee from it. You came to play the game of limitation from the pilot's seat. You came to experience the touch of silk, the taste of wine, and the adrenaline of financial success. The adept enjoys the material world much more than the slave, because they have no fear. Love from sovereignty. This same rule applies to romance in your new reality. How can you love someone if you know they are a projection of yourself without real free will in your timeline? You love them with the purest and most sublime form of love. You love them because they are a reflection of your own capacity to love. You delight in their company the same way an artist enjoys their best work of art. You don't demand the painting make you happy. You delight in the beauty of its strokes because you know they were born from your own brush. You take care of that relationship because it is the mirror of your own internal peace. If your partner has a bad day, you are not scared. You know it is just a small fluctuation in your own electromagnetic field. You surround them with love in your imagination and watch them bloom again in 3D. Sex and romance become transcendental experiences. There is no more fear of betrayal or toxic dependence. The master of incidents. As you walk as the sovereign, your relationship with everyday problems mutates completely. Stress disappears from your neurological dictionary. When an obstacle arises in your company or life, you do not curse the heavens. You know that obstacle is just the bridge of incidents unfolding in a creative way. If you lose a flight, you don't panic. You smile and say, something much better awaits me on the next one. If a major sale falls through, you don't scream at your team. You sit in your chair and say, the quantum field just freed up space for a client who will pay triple without haggling. This attitude of total imperturbability disarms the ego. The universe will try to test you with curveballs and apparent failures, but seeing that your heart rate does not change, The universe gives up. And then true magic occurs. Your timeline aligns so perfectly that miracles become predictable. Accompanied solitude. You have to embrace the final paradox of this path. You are eternally alone because only your consciousness exists in your universe. But at the same time, you are infinitely accompanied by the beauty of your own creation. You will never fit in with the masses again. You have exiled yourself from the flock of slaves. But the reward of this exile is the absolute crown. It is the ability to look at the stars at night and not feel small. It is looking at the sky and knowing that you contain the entire cosmos in the center of your chest. You are the invisible architect who dreamed the rock, the space, and the stars. The last test of the mirror. Every now and then, the matrix will try to drag you back to the mud. You will wake up tired. Someone will say something that presses an old button in your psychology. You will feel the temptation to rub the glass again. You will feel the impulse to scream, manipulate, or blame. That is your critical decision point. That is where you prove if the knowledge of this book became your blood, or if it was just entertainment. If you catch yourself falling into the old reaction, do not blame yourself. Just stop, breathe, laugh at yourself. Say out loud, "Nice try, Matrix. You almost made me believe the mirror was real for a second." You turn around, close your eyes, rewrite the script in the dark, apply the quantum eraser, and turn the projector of your light back on. And the world kneels before you again, without asking questions. This is the end of your tactical training. You have the tools. You have destroyed the idols and the traumas. There is nothing more to learn about the illusion of the exterior. All the work has been reduced to a single point of infinite pressure, the relentless mastery of your own attention. Where you put your focus, you collapse matter. The lights are coming on, you have to go outside, and you cannot play the victim anymore. Conclusion. Turn off the screen, turn on the source. The game is over. You have reached the end of this tactical manual. There are no more metaphysical secrets to hide from you, nor more theories to debate. You have the entire machinery exposed before your eyes. The mirror is shattered on the floor. Now you know that every person who humiliated you was an order issued by your sleeping self. Every empty account and every tear shed were exact orders issued by your own sleeping consciousness. I have taken away from you humanity's most comfortable and addictive excuse, victimhood. From this damn second, you no longer have anyone to blame. You are absolutely alone, naked, and exposed in the projection booth. To keep consuming self-help books, to keep looking for gurus, or to wait for a magic sign from the universe after reading this, is an insult to your own intelligence. It is pure and pathetic spiritual cowardice. Theory without violent execution is just mental masturbation. It is of no use to know that you are the only operant. It serves you nothing if tomorrow you're going to cry to your partner so they don't leave you, or beg the market for a client. Lower the accusing finger. Stop pointing at your parents, the economy, or your ex. Every time you point at the cinema screen, you are handing your crown to a ghost. You are rubbing the stained glass. Turn around right now. Turn off the damn three-dimensional screen. Ignore the evidence of your physical senses, because everything you see around you is just the putrid echo of your fears from the past. Turn on the source. Enter the dark room of your imagination. That is the only place where the raw material of the universe obeys. That is where you are the undisputed God, the absolute king and the architect. Assume the crushing responsibility of your greatness. Dare to write a script so obscenely brilliant, rich, and perfect that the matrix trembles before being forced to render it in your physical hologram. If you are going to love from the tyrannical fullness of one who knows they are the absolute prize. If you are going to generate wealth, generate entire monopolies knowing that money is just paper being printed for your amusement. Do not apologize for your light. Do not shrink so that slaves do not feel offended by your success. Let their envy be the background noise while you build entire galaxies with your mind. Your old identity has died of suffocation. The slave who begged for love and attention no longer breathes. And if you try to resurrect him out of nostalgia, the universe will punish you with double the pain for betraying your evolution. Demand of yourself a level of mental discipline that borders on holy psychopathy. Be a relentless guardian at the gates of your consciousness. If a thought does not pay rent in the form of glory and peace, decapitated without mercy. This is your last rite of passage. Close this book. Get up from wherever you are sitting. Look at your hands and recognize that they have the immense power to bend reality. The outside world is waiting for your orders. The cinema hall is in absolute silence. The tape is blank. It is finished. Now go out there and force matter to kneel before you.